Thank you for answering the call for South Asian Men for Harris. We're calling all South Asian men and friends to join us to rally, fundraise, and get out the vote for our first female president. We will be starting in just a minute. We are live on Facebook, Twitter, LinkedIn, YouTube, and Instagram. Please like, please comment, please share. Let us know where you're watching from. And now our hosts, Manu Bhagavan and Sree Sreenivasan.
Hi, everybody.
Good morning. Good morning, good morning, good morning, actually. My name is Manu Bhagavan, and it is my honor to be your co-host today and to welcome all of you to this virtual rally. South Asian men and friends and allies for Harris. We are fired up for the first woman, the first Black woman, and the first South Asian president of the United States. As you may have heard, in Sanskrit, Kamala means lotus. In America, Kamala means POTUS. The stakes could not be higher. Climate change, the wars in Gaza and Ukraine, as well as the domestic problems of gun violence and a rogue Supreme Court bring all of this into vivid relief. Meanwhile, just yesterday, Donald Trump explicitly told his followers to vote now because, quote, you won't have to vote anymore. In 4 years, you won't have to vote again. Democracy is itself on the line, and with it, all of our freedoms and the very idea of America, too. Scary stuff. But Kamala Harris is not just challenging Donald Trump. She is prosecuting her case with precision and with such joy that it has allowed all of us to feel something we haven't in a long time: hope. On top of that, she's brought some fun back to it too. Can we all say brat? And these are the powerful antidotes our republic needs to the toxic poison that Trump has poured into our body politic these past years. Yes, so let's come together today in coalition with our Black, brown, white, straight, and LGBTQ plus family and make clear once and for all that we are not going back. We have an incredible program today with an all-star lineup. To get our party started, let me introduce my co-host for our program, the one and only Sree Sreenivasan.
Manu Bhagwan, wow, I am so excited. I have goosebumps from what you were saying. From what Trump said yesterday, I am angry. But from what you said today, I'm excited. We are not going to just go back. We're not going to go to the future that he has promised. This is our chance to actually do something. Manu, last time in 2008, you and so many others put together an incredible South Asian Writers for Obama in 2008 campaign and an event. I didn't even attend it, Manu, because I'm a journalist and I couldn't go. I didn't even attend. My wife, Rupa, was one of the co-chairs of that effort. I didn't go. Why am I here? Because we cannot stand on the sidelines. We all have to make a difference, and we can all do something. Tell your friends right now to join us, whatever platform you're on, Facebook, YouTube, LinkedIn, Instagram. We're on all these channels right now. South Asian Men for Harris. Tell them to join us. We want the skeptics. We want the uncles and the aunties. We want everybody. We want allies. And we have an incredible lineup for you today. You will not believe the kind of folks we've lined up for you. And it's going to be a very exciting, fast 2 hours. We are grateful to everyone who's watching. You can watch live or later, but please hit share or tag a friend right now. That's all of that will make a difference. To start us off right, we have for you a very special guest, someone who has been a leader in his field of writing, literature, the arts, but someone who has made such a difference in his leadership of our community. And I am honored and delighted right now to present to you the author of so many books, but the one I have handy at the moment, the book that just came out this year, a brave man who has fought for so many rights and so many different causes, someone who has been an inspiration for many of us. Please welcome onto our stage, Sir Salman Rushdie.
Hello, everybody. I'm really excited to be here with you all, and I absolutely agree with and support the remarks that Manu made and that Sree made. It's a critical moment, and yeah, of course, I'm a boy from Bombay, and it's great to see an Indian woman running for the White House, and my wife is African American, so we like the fact that there's a Black and Indian woman running for the White House. But, frankly, ethnicity itself is not enough. We would not be gathering in this way, let's say, for Usha Vance, or Nikki Haley. We're here because something, I think, very extraordinary, transformative, has happened in American politics in just under a week. The conversation has entirely changed with the arrival of Kamala Harris's candidacy. And it's changed in the most, as Sree was saying and Manu was saying, in a kind of joyful way, a way of optimism and positive forward thinking. And we have to make that work, because we can't allow the alternative to happen, this hollow man without a single noble quality, trying to drag this country towards authoritarianism. That cannot happen. And Kamala, I believe, is the person who can prevent it. And so I'm right in for her, 1,000% in for her. And I'm happy to be part of this conversation.
Thank you. Thank you for that. And thank you for being here. I know Manu has a question for you also, but I just want to ask you to address directly, please, Salman, the various skeptics we have, people in our community who may not believe in this candidacy for a variety of reasons, including the fact that, America would not elect a half Black, half Indian woman as president. So can you talk to them? And then I'm going to have Manu will ask you a question.
I think times have changed. And I think that may well have been an argument even as recently ago as maybe a decade. But I think the way in which women's leadership is viewed now is different. The way in which the race issue can be made a positive is a new thing. And so I think there is absolutely no reason why Kamala Harris should not win, and actually win it quite handily. I think the tide is turning. Fox News yesterday put her neck and neck with Trump, which is a pretty big bounce from the last Biden poll. And it's not even a week. We can do this. We just have to believe it.
Thank you, Salman. Manu?
Mr. Rushdie, I'm wondering, there's an old cliche, the pen is mightier than the sword, and your pen is probably mightier than anyone else's. what are things writers can do at this stage to help the effort?
Well, I think what writers can do is what writers do best, which is that they need to write and look for every possible venue, to every platform, and it's everyone's shoulder to the wheel right now. There's 100 days to go. There's not a minute to lose, and we all have to use every power we have, whether it's speaking out, as here we are. That's what we're doing right now. Speaking out, writing, arguing. We've got to win this argument, and writers pretty good at arguing. So I think we're going to do our best.
Thank you. Look at all these comments coming in, Salman, from all around the country. Ravinder's watching from North Carolina. Harish is watching from Syosset. Nitin's watching early in the San Francisco Bay Area. Sanjay is watching on YouTube. Sanjay, welcome. Raj, welcome. Please tell your friends. We're glad you're here, but we want everybody to watch. Here is Mohan watching from Delaware. Avinder's watching from Irvine, so early in the morning. Indiana here, thank you. New Jersey in the house. Joe from Florida. We need everybody. And I also want to remind everyone that this isn't just about the presidency. Wherever you are, every seat matters. So even if you feel like, oh, you're in a red, in a blue state that doesn't need help, everybody needs help. So please join. And George Matthew, a wonderful Western classical conductor and musician, says, not going back in New Jersey. And Suresh is watching from New Jersey. I'm all in. Kamala for POTUS. This is so cool. And South Asian woman here, Dr. Sujana Chandrasekhar, so excited about this energy. Rishi from Illinois. We won't be able to show everybody's comments, but we're on Facebook, Twitter, YouTube, LinkedIn. Please share widely with your friends. And now we're ready to bring in our other guests as well. We're doing sort of small panel discussions. So let's bring on our next guest. There is our friend. Thank you so much, Harini, Krishnan, for joining us, and Deven, Parekh, and Nihal, Mehta. Thank you for all being here. Harini is the co-founder of South Asians for Harris and is a personal friend of the vice president. Deven is a longtime Democratic supporter and philanthropist, and Nihal is Mr. Tech and Mr. Friend of everybody. So thank you all for being here. We're going to start with Harini, your thoughts, and then we'll go down the line.
Well, first of all, Sree and Manu and Nihal, thank you for the effort in putting this together. This is not easy. And I cannot believe what you've accomplished 72 hours from thought to execution. And I also want to say, to be able to share the same Zoom space as Sir Salman Rushdie is an incredible honor, and every word resonates with me. So much is on the line. Democracy is on the line. As a woman, my fundamental freedom is on the line. And I've been proud to be in this journey with her for a long time. Since that day in February 2019 in Oakland, when she announced her candidacy, and I was fortunate to be a lead volunteer organizer for her in California, traveled with her to Nevada and to Iowa with an incredible group of friends and supporters. And I remember the energy and I remember the excitement of being part of that campaign. And 4.5 years later, to think that we are on the cusp of electing our first woman president, first South Asian, first Indian American, first Black woman president, is just so incredibly exciting. But it's also so meaningful, and it's a full circle moment for me. The Kamala that I know is tough. She is brilliant. She's ready. She's experienced. She's a former district attorney, a former attorney general, and a senator, and she's been the first in all those roles. So to those who say, is it possible? We are talking about a woman who has shattered so many glass ceilings. It is absolutely possible, and it's going to take all of us, and especially events like this, to support her. So grateful for what you're doing, Sree.
Thank you very much. Philanthropist, Democratic supporter, long time. Tell us how you're feeling and your thoughts, please.
Thank you, Sree, and thank you for all of the organizers. And I would also say it's an honor to be on the screen with Salman Rushdie. I think the one thing that we have to really talk about as a party, as a Democratic Party, is the Republicans have co-opted the concept of freedom, wrapping their conventions in flags, putting flags on all their lapels. But they're for freedom other than in the bedroom, and they're for freedom other than when it's a woman's right to choose. They're for freedom, except they want to restrict voting. They're for freedom, but the economic opportunity is not equally distributed. I think it's really important that we as Democrats co-opt that back. We're actually the party of freedom. We want to give people economic opportunity. We want to make sure everybody has a chance to vote. We want women to be able to make their own decisions about their body. And I can't imagine a better embodiment of that than Kamala Harris. And look, like many of us on this call, we either came here as immigrants or our parents came here as immigrants. And my dad came here basically without a dollar and lived actually on the West Coast at a YMCA for 6 months. And this country gave him the opportunity to be able to put me in the position that I'm in today. And I think it's just incredibly important that that's the America that we want to leave for our children. And I couldn't be more excited to have Kamala Harris be the leader of our party to get us back to that vision.
Thank you very much. Look at these comments coming in from everywhere, New York City to Chicago. Arvind is saying advocating aggressively all over the U.S. Deven says too many Trump supporters in our community. Let's go to Nihal, Mehta, VC, and so much more. Very active in our community and joining us on vacation from Europe, I believe.
That's right. Yeah, I dressed up for you guys, actually. This is my Indian garb at a wedding in the UK. But it's an honor to be here. Not only to share the stage with of course Salman, but Deven and everybody on this panel. And Sree, thanks for having me. Like Deven, my dad came to this country with nothing, borrowed $1,000 for the flight, and created the American dream for his kids and now his grandkids. And I fondly remember growing up in Iowa, every time there's a State of the Union, regardless of Republican or Democrat, we would be ushered into the living room to watch and to be inspired and to learn, and to really appreciate, the country that we grew up in, that has given us so much, that gave us this incredible opportunity. And, we had that obviously with, most recently with Barack Obama and, of course, Bill Clinton before that, but Joe Biden. And the policies that we've been executing on have been incredible, except for a blip, the 4-year blip that was Trump. And he's back. And of course, we're doing whatever we can to not get him elected. But now, not only do we have a coalition against Trump, we have a coalition for the first Indian American woman to be president of the United States. And that is inspirational on so many levels, not only because she is carrying the torch from executing on incredible policies that Joe Biden just started, but also because she understands our plight, our immigrant journey, our immigrant struggle, and the American dream. And so I think for those reasons, we are so inspired. We are so fired up. Deven and I, of course, are in technology. I think we wanted to speak out very quickly in support of Kamala, because the truth of the matter is Silicon Valley is supporting Kamala Harris. Silicon Valley is not supporting Donald Trump. There are a few folks that came out early in support of Donald Trump. Of course, this is before Kamala was announced. the Democratic nominee. And I think it was a horrible mistake for a lot of the folks that, by the way, we respect as well, to put their name and their capital behind Trump. By the way, since Kamala was announced, a lot of those folks have even rescinded, which was interesting, a lot of their capital contributions, right? Elon Musk, you know, the media came out and said he was going to donate 45 million a month. And now he's saying, no, that's not the case. That's not a coincidence. I think people realize a lot of other folks kind of bought Trump at quote unquote the peak. And now, you know, they have much remorse around that decision. At the same time, I think a lot of other folks have come out of the woodwork in support in the technology industry in support of Kamala Harris. And so I think in aggregate, you know, I just want to say the tech industry is for Kamala. I think in the beginning, folks were a little bit nervous, but I think that's a very small group of folks. And what I'm seeing now every day, and Deven, I'm sure you're seeing the same thing on your phone with literally hundreds of text messages, hundreds of phone calls from people in the industry that are saying, we're going all in for Kamala. And it's just starting to happen now. And, you know, we're proud to be some of the first people to throw our name and some of our influence behind Kamala, but this is just the beginning. And the momentum has shifted and it's growing. So let's go.
Let's go. And you got this. So awesome to see so much enthusiasm. This is our chance to save democracy. I just got a text saying, tell people to especially reach out to friends and family, aunties and uncles who live in Pennsylvania, Wisconsin, Georgia, Arizona. We have those people here. You have cousins there. Everybody, please share. We only have a couple more minutes with this panel. We have another panel coming in right after this. Salman, your thoughts?
Can I just say, yes, absolutely, we need the anti-vote. So let's get the anti-vote out. And the extended family, all that. I just wanted to say one thing about star power, because that matters in America. And you could argue that Trump's celebrity from being on TV, all that time, helped him get elected. Well, right now, he doesn't look like the star. He looks like the old fat guy, and Kamala looks like the superstar. And I think that charisma that she brings to the campaign could be actually critical in the weeks ahead.
Thank you very much. Very well said. Let's see, Harini, your thoughts. We're going to wrap up. So I'm going to go to Harini, Deven, Nihal, and then we'll move to the next panel.
Thank you so much, Sree. You know, as an organizer, I'm an organizer first and foremost. So I'm going to plug the organizing. You know, I am so proud to be a co-national director of South Asians for Harris. We were previously South Asians for Biden, and I work with a phenomenal co-national director, Deven, you know, who's been in this space for 12 years. I would say, please get engaged. You know, Sree is going to drop the links in the chat, but find us, South Asians for Harris, Linktree, we're SA for Harris. And we already have phone banks going into to reach South Asian voters in Wisconsin and Nevada. We have a voter registration text bank in partnership with a group called Field Team 6, they're on a mission to register 3 million unregistered voters who are likely Democrats in all 12 swing states, you know, by election day. We are organizing calls in California, in Pennsylvania, in Wisconsin, in Michigan. Find us, get involved. There's a place for everybody. You know, we had this unprecedented energy to save our democracy in 2020. I was proud to be the National Grassroots Organizing Chair, and I saw aunties and uncles get on phone banks and become our trainers and lead 1,000 Zoom phone banks and text banks, and that energy is coming back. And so I urge all of you to get engaged. And to Sree's point, it is not just about electing the first Indian American president. We have to elect the down ballot candidates all the way. We have to take back the House. We have to take back the Senate. We have to let my friend Kamala, we have to make sure that we give her the House and the Senate so that we can pass the John Lewis Voting Rights Act, so that we can codify Roe v. Wade, so that there's so much that we need to do to really ensure that our fundamental freedoms are enshrined. So please get engaged, and please follow us, Linktree/SA for America. Thank you so much.
Thank you very much. Deven, your thoughts?
Yeah, the one thing I would say is one cautionary note. I would really, really urge people to not be complacent. There's not a person that you talk to who thought that Donald Trump was going to beat Hillary Clinton. I don't even think Donald Trump thought he was going to beat Hillary Clinton. This is America. This is going to be an incredibly, incredibly close election, no matter what the polls say today. So what I would urge everybody to do is give what you can give, donate what you can donate, volunteer the best that you can volunteer. And I really think that individual conversations with people really, really matter. This election will get there's probably 500 to 600,000 swing voters that are going to make this election go one way or the other. So please, please, please don't be complacent, not only at the presidential level, but I also agree the House and Senate are incredibly important. So we have 100 days left to go. We need to really lean in and not leave anything on the field.
Thank you. And you're going to help us do that, Deven, with all the work that you're doing every day. Thank you, Deven. Nihal, your final thoughts.
Sree, thank you for organizing. Obviously, also Rajan Shah, I want to wish him a very happy birthday. It's today. He helped also bring this together. But just to echo Deven's words, individual conversations, but also be proud to make a statement. Make a statement in public. Make a statement with your friends. Make a statement on social media that you are standing behind Kamala Harris, because that goes a long way, right? One of your followers might see it and donate. Maybe tell that one voter that we need in Michigan or Wisconsin or Pennsylvania to change their mind, right? Because this election's coming to, literally the last election was decided by tens of thousands of votes in those 3 states. And so every single conversation and every single post can mean the world. So be proud, speak loudly, let's go.
Thank you. Salman, what does it mean to you to see the range of people who are watching, Pakistani Americans, Indo-Caribbeans, all of these coming together? What does that say to you, Salman?
Well, it's very moving. It's moving in the way that in recent days, these great assemblies of people have been moving. The gathering of Black women, the gathering of white women, the gatherings of Asian women, and now this event, it just shows that there is enormous power in our coming together. And I absolutely agree, we cannot be complacent. We have to fight this down to the wire, because it's probably going to go down to the wire. But that doesn't mean we can't be the first past the post, because I believe we can.
Thank you very much. If you've just tuned in, yes, that's Salman Rushdie. By the way, there's a public service announcement. I have known him for all these years. He never corrected me in all the events that I've hosted him at. So we're going to just correct everybody's pronunciation. It is Salman Rushdie.
Yeah, that's the least important thing we need to do today.
The most important thing to correct his name. And we want to just thank all of you for being here. We're going to bring our next panel in. Everyone vote. You can also please go in and donate, and the money will be tracked to us. So we're very grateful for that. Thank you. There you see it, bit.ly/Sam for Harris, South Asian Men for Harris. So please do donate. How are you feeling, Manu?
Well, that was an incredible panel, Sree. I mean, well, anything with Salman Rushdie in it is incredible, but to have this dynamic group of people from the tech industry, from organizing, and from the literary world it's quite a dialogue. Yeah. And I think the big takeaway from it for all of us is it's going to take all of us working together. There's no one who's unimportant. Everyone listening needs to contribute, chip in, participate in every way that they can.
Thank you. We're going to be live for the next 90 minutes, but this is recorded and available on all of Facebook, Twitter, YouTube, LinkedIn. Please tag your friends. They need to join us. We're going to now ask our producer, who's been working with us, Neil Parekh, who's up till 3 in the morning and then working again from about 7 a.m. to be with us. Neil, come on. And then we're going to show you our run of show. We're going to give you a little bit of a glimpse behind the scenes, and Neil's going to explain what we have coming up and why we're not on Zoom. We're not on Zoom so that we can come to you on all these social channels. There's Neil Parekh. Neil, thank you. Let's go.
Absolutely. Thank you very much, everyone, for joining us. This is a different kind of show. We produce shows on StreamYard for the TV style production. So you're seeing the comments coming on screen. You're seeing the tickers at the bottom. Sree is putting on a few comments right now. We're able to put in our upcoming speakers. So for example, coming soon, we'll have a video from Representative Raja Krishnamoorthi, Senator Chaudhuri, Neil Makhija, Shekhar Krishnan, just incredible, and a video from Aasif Mandvi. We have a run of show that, now, I wouldn't have shown you the run of show, but Sree wanted to give you a kind of behind the scenes look. We are updating this as we go. When we know we have speakers here, they're in the green room. We're coordinating with our colleagues. We'll keep updating this list.
I see Ro Khanna. I see Wajahat Ali. I see the mayor of Cincinnati. I mean, these are all coming up in the next 90 minutes, folks. We have Gautam Raghavan, who's going to be with us. Raj Goyal is going to be here. Salil Tripathi. Just look at this list. Rahul Bhavnani. Yeah.
Anurima Bhargava is going to be joining us. South Asian
He's
women.
the one who helped organize that incredible giant group of South Asian women who did so much for the community. We are here. We are following in their footsteps of our South Asian sisters, our Black sisters who led the way. And we're just so happy to have all this. So let's go. And then we're going to have Neha Deven, who's co-founder of South Asians for Harris. We're going to have the national organizing director of Harris for President. So it's not just the South Asian folks. We're going to have Walter Greason, who's a leading writer and professor, who's going to join us in just a few minutes. So let's show you who's coming up next. We're just going to go back to the run of show. We really want to show you the behind the scenes as we're building this. Or we are trying not to be too late in the Desi style, but I think we're doing very well. Neil, just show us the run of show to see who's coming up. Yeah,
we're a little bit late. We're a little bit behind, but that's okay.
That's okay.
I do want to point out, so we have coming up in our next panel a video from Representative Raja Krishnamoorthi, Jay Chaudhuri, a North Carolina state senator. I've known him for almost 25 years. Thank you, Jay. Arvind Venkat, another state representative, Neil Makhija, who we had the pleasure of working with on India Impact, IA Impact, and then Shekhar Krishnan from New York City Council, which is
and a video from Aasif Mandvi. So
and a video from
video
Aasif
delivered.
Mandvi.
You can see that it said video waiting. Now it says video delivered.
Delivered. I want to point out those three that this is South Asian Men for Harris, but it's not just men. Leading women are joining us in this effort, and it's just not just it's all South Asian. We have representation from across South Asia, which I think is really important, not just India. And we have also, like I said, not just South Asian. Walter Greason is going to be with us, a dear friend. You're going to love when you see him talk. He'll talk about the importance of allyship. He's in Group 3, which is coming up shortly.
Here's a very important point, Neil. Deepan says it seems like people are finally coming out of the woodwork. We owe this to President Biden for making the best decision, but we also owe President Biden for everything he did. And he said he would choose a woman of color to be his vice president. He said he would name a Black woman to the United States Supreme Court. He kept those promises. He could have chosen anybody. He chose Kamala Harris. And we want that. We want everyone to remember that. So I think we're ready to see our video from Representative Raja Krishnamoorthi. Before that, a reminder, if you are watching live, that's Manu, I'm Sree, and this is South Asian Men for Harris. The hashtag is Sam4Harris. You can find us on Instagram, South Asian Men for Harris. Please follow us. We're not starting a new organization. What we're doing is rallying men and allies and then donating directly to the campaign. We are not raising money for ourselves. And by the way, Manu and me and almost every speaker is representing just themselves. They're not speaking on behalf of their organization. So we would just want that to be clear wherever they work, whatever they do. So are you feeling ready, Manu, for our next segment?
This panel coming up is really exciting. It's got a bunch of elected officials. We have a major representative in Raja Krishnamoorthi, and we also have a bunch of local officials who are going to tell us things on the ground, which is where we really need to hear from, and especially in some swing states.
And we're going to start with Raja Krishnamoorthi, Congressman Krishnamoorthi, who had wanted to be here, but of course he's campaigning. So here we go.
Congressman Raja Krishnamoorthi of Illinois. Thank you to the South Asian Men for Harris for convening today's discussion. There's just a burst of enthusiasm and positivity and energy for Kamala Harris for president. The stakes are very high, and that's why all of us are doing everything we can to help get her elected. Our freedoms are on the line, including reproductive freedoms for so many of our citizenry. In addition to that, are we going to be a country that allows anybody, regardless of color of skin, regardless of where you come from or how you pray or whom you love or the number of letters in your name? There are 29 in my Desi name. I don't know about yours, but that's the country we want to live in, where everyone has a chance regardless of who they are. And then finally, do we expand the circle of economic inclusion? Do we make sure that everyone has a chance to get on that up escalator of the economy, regardless of whether you're working poor, or whether you're in the middle class, or whether you're growing a business? We want everyone to do well. So that's what's at stake in this election. And in Kamala Harris, we have someone who's future forward, who's looking to protect the interests of your family, your children and grandchildren. Whereas on the other side, we have someone who's looking to the past, relitigating old grievances, and basically trying to take us back to a time when not everybody was doing as well as they can. So we want to move forward, and that's why Kamala Harris must be elected our next president. I can't wait to see all of you in person. Thank you for allowing me to address you virtually, and God bless.
Yes, thank you, Raja Krishnamoorthi. Manu, when you and I grew up in America, there were no congressmen, congresswomen who were South Asian. There had been Dilip Singh Sound, and it took decades, in 1956. And now look at the representation we have. We'll meet Ro Khanna, Representative Ro Khanna, later on in this in the 90 minutes that we have. But let's go to our panel. So let's bring them on. There is Jay Chaudhuri, State Senator from North Carolina, and Nihal Makhija, County Commissioner and Impact President, and Shekhar Krishnan, a New York City Council member. Thank you all for being here. We are super grateful to all of you. We have been saying again and again, this is not just about the presidency. We need to give the president the backup on all the different places in the country, including at the local level all the way to the national level. So let's just go around and have Jay start us off. Your thoughts?
Yeah, Sree, Nihal, Manu, thank you for putting this together so quickly. This is incredible. It's incredible to see the energy. I just want to say a few things because I know we're going to have a panel discussion. I think one, someone just commented about owing a debt of gratitude to President Biden, and I just want to underscore that. I think it's an amazing moment in history where we see a president that has put country over self and to make this moment possible. Let me just say three things about Vice President Harris's historic nomination. I think one is there's a clear vibe shift. I mean, this is no longer is a contest between a former and current president of the United States. It really, as Raja talked about, a fight between the future and the past. It's a fight between restoring reproductive rights and continuing to rip away reproductive rights from our women. It's about a prosecutor versus a felon. Number two, the vice president's nomination, I believe, changes the electoral map. And here in North Carolina, where I serve as the Senate Democratic Whip, I can tell you that we've seen a visible change in the energy of our volunteers. This morning, I met about 20 volunteers that were ready to go door knocking. I don't think that would have been possible a week ago, but the energy is amazing. North Carolina is the bluest red state in the country. Donald Trump won this state by 75,000 votes out of 5.5 million votes that were cast. And Vice President's nomination, I think, supercharges the votes of Black, Asian American, Indian American, and youth votes, which we think is going to make a difference. And lastly, and I think this was something Deven Parekh talked about, and I think needs to be emphasized again. We have a lot of work cut out for us. I mean, I think before President Biden's announcement on Sunday, I think the Republicans had the momentum for 3 weeks. I think we're clearly going to have the momentum going into Labor Day. We've got a vice presidential nomination. I can tell you the Nihal, Arvind, and I have been having fun trying to argue over who has the best governor in the state to be the next vice president. But I think once a vice presidential nomination is announced, I think we're going to continue to see energy going into Labor Day. But once we get to Labor Day, I mean, I think we're gonna see a real reset I think we've got to be prepared for ugly attack ads. I think arguments that we're going to have with our family and friends. I know my WhatsApp group is blowing up. Door knocking, writing postcards, phone banks can make a difference. I think every member on this panel can attest to that because we've all done door knocking. I did 10,000 door knocks when I ran for office the first time, and those phone calls. So I really, really appreciate y'all doing this. I hope we can harness this energy. This is incredible. This is going to be a historic moment, and I know we're fighting for that same American dream that each of our parents had when they immigrated to this country. That is what Kamala Harris represents to all of us.
Great to hear the Southern accent, Jay. Thank you so much for being here. Thank you for what you're doing. Let's bring it home, North Carolina. We love that. We are seeing such great feedback and so much enthusiasm. We love that. Please tell us where you're watching from. And look at this. Sudhakar says, good to see our Senator Jay Chaudhuri. And that's so important to see you, all of you, represent us means so much. So we're going to go next to Nihal, and then we're going to go to Arvind, and then to Shekhar. Go ahead, Nihal.
Hey, Sree. Hi, everyone. Great to see you. Thank you so much for bringing this together during a historic moment for our community. I want to say, I've had the chance to lead Impact, Indian American Impact, through a period of tremendous growth in terms of our community's representation, the recognition of our vote. And not only are we going to be pivotal, not only are we going to be critical in terms of the vote in the swing states, whether it's Pennsylvania, Georgia, North Carolina, Arizona, Michigan, we are ready for it this time because we have built up an infrastructure over years to engage our community. We have leaders like the ones you're hearing on this call, like Jay, like Arvind, like Shekhar, who are stepping up, organizing our communities. And that is really exciting because not only, by the way, personally, I was waiting to use our domain name, desipresident.com, for some time. And being Desi, you might have thought my parents bought that in the 80s. But we actually, we got that in 2019 or 2020. We were waiting for Kamala Harris to hopefully be selected, and Indian American Impact, as really the one organization that has built a full-time, year-round infrastructure to engage our community politically, was ready for this moment immediately. We had the Kamala Ke Saath t-shirts that started selling on Sunday night, and we had a number of folks signing up across the country to get engaged, to volunteer, and we now have this site, desipresident.com, which is a one-stop shop for how people get engaged, get involved, turn out to vote, and organize within the community. That is so critical because let me tell you what I'm concerned about. It's the idea that we could be revving up the base on the coasts in our community, but not translating that into votes in swing states. So our biggest challenge is to make sure that when we raise the money, when we do the work, we're actually bringing it to Georgia, to Pennsylvania, to Michigan, to Arizona, Nevada, to North Carolina, all the places that are going to decide who's going to be president. And Impact has done some great work with your help, Digimentors, in the past, reaching people through virtually, also in person in Pennsylvania in 22, in Georgia as well. We're going to do all of that again. So I'm really excited to see people come together and do that. And just on a personal note, let me just say, Kamala Harris, she sees us, she believes in us, she knows that we are pivotal to her winning. And I think that's something, we've never had before in our lifetime.
Look at what we see there. It says desipresident.com, Kamala Ke Saath, electing the first Desi president for our allies. Kamala Ke Saath means with Kamala, and here we are. Thank you, Nihal, for all you're doing and your leadership. Let's go to Arvind, and then we're going to hear from New York City Council member Shekhar Krishnan. Arvind is a state rep, and thank you very much for being here, Arvind.
Thanks, Sree. Thanks, Manu. Thanks to all of you. My name is Arvind Venkat. I'm a state representative in the North Hills suburbs of Pittsburgh. I'm the first Indian American and only Indian American in our Pennsylvania State House of Representatives. And I'm the first Democrat to represent the North Hills suburbs in our state house in Pennsylvania's history. And so I'm sitting here in ground zero for what will decide this presidential election. And I will tell you that the excitement, the energy, everything that has happened as Vice President Harris has become our nominee, or will soon become our nominee, is really extraordinarily to watch. I ran 2 years ago, and canvassing, like Senator Chaudhuri talked about, was really everything. I knocked on 13,000 doors during my initial campaign. And what I saw in my community, which has a growing South Asian community, is how this desire to be engaged in the political process is growing. And we are going to need that this election cycle. Western Pennsylvania, where I am, is really going to be the region within our state that is going to be critical to whether we carry Pennsylvania and therefore carry the presidency. And there's a large South Asian community here. And so the work that's happening today is very important. And I certainly urge all those online, contribute to the Harris campaign, sign up to volunteer, sign up to do postcards and phone banking. We need to reach every member of the South Asian community up and down the ballot to make sure that Vice President Harris is elected as the next president, as well as that she has a Congress that can work with her, and that we continue to have state legislatures and governors who can enact these policies as well. I sit in a state legislative chamber that has a 1-seat Democratic majority, and that's the difference that voting and participation makes. So thanks for everything. And I'll just put a final shout out. As someone of Tamil origin, the same background as Vice President Harris, it's a particular pride for me and my family to see her at the top of the ticket. So thank you so much, and really happy to participate.
State Rep Arvind Venkat, one of the sayings about Pennsylvania, there's Philadelphia, there's Pittsburgh, and there's Alabama in the middle. And so
no, we don't say that. We don't say that. We don't say that. Not true. Not true.
I do want to point out, I was confused for a moment because you're from Pennsylvania, but it says MD next to your name, so I was confused for a moment.
Yeah, I'm the only physician in our General Assembly, and the first one in 60 years. So got to represent that aspect of South Asian identity.
So thank you, Doctor. We're going to go to our New York City Council member, Shekhar Krishnan, and then Manu is going to ask you all very tough, very difficult questions. So
sure. Well, good afternoon, everyone. Thank you so much, Sree, Manu, for hosting it. Thank you so much, South Asian Men for Harris. I'm Shekhar Krishnan. Hello to all our Desi siblings, non-Desi siblings on. I'm the council member of the New York City Council, representing Jackson Heights, Queens, and I'm proudly the first Indian American ever elected to our New York City Council in our city's history, and also of Tamil origin too, Arvind. So good to be in good company there. But that's exactly one of the major reasons why I'm so excited and fired up about Kamala Harris as our nominee and next president, with her trail-blazing, path-breaking candidacy as the first Black American, Indian American woman to be elected to the presidency. So this is such a crucial moment for our country and historic in so many ways. I just wanted to point out 3 reasons in particular why there's so much at stake in this election. And we know it, but it's always good to keep that in mind as you go out and campaign. The first, of course, is given the context of the existential nature of this election, we know one of the most critical issues on the ballot is abortion. Reproductive freedom, women's health is on this ballot right now. With the SCOTUS, the Supreme Court that we have, and the rollback of Roe v. Wade, we know that reproductive justice in every sense of the word is threatened right now in so many states, cities, and communities, rural and urban, across the country. So it is crucial that we get Kamala elected to defend abortion rights, to defend reproductive freedom, and it's especially great to have a woman at the helm and to be our next president. Number 2 is, as I mentioned before, the future of our democracy and our democratic institutions are at stake in this election. You look on the positive side, we owe an extraordinary debt of gratitude to President Joe Biden for his leadership in this moment, but also over the last 4 years too. We have seen incredible economic expansion during his time, incredible infrastructure investments, the lowest unemployment rate in decades under Joe Biden, and we want that to continue, right? And right now, on the negative side, we are looking at Project 2025, all of its horrendous proposals that threatens to undo every advance that we've made and undo every institution. So this election really is about the step forward, continuing on the progress that we've made versus taking decades backwards. And finally, I just add another critical point, which I say is my background as a civil rights lawyer before entering the city council, is the future of our courts, our judiciary, is at stake too. We know how incredibly misguided the Supreme Court is in so many ways, but it's not just the Supreme Court. It's across our federal judiciary. So many federal judgeships that will be at stake in this election that will decide, shape the law even before it goes to the Supreme Court. So we have a lot of work to do because, as I said, this election in so many ways is existential for our future, for our democracy, and for what it means to all of our communities. And that's why I think, and we all say it as local electeds, we know how important grassroots energy and activism is. We feel it, we're seeing it now, but it's crucial that it translates to everyone giving in any way they can, and far more importantly, getting out there, knocking on doors, especially in our swing states. Every voter touched by phone, every door knocked is someone we can persuade to join our cause and make sure we win this election. So I couldn't say it with any more importance. We've seen it in our races on the local level too, that grassroots organizing is what will decide this election. So let's get out there, let's knock doors, let's get every voter on our side, let's touch everyone. We have to do so, especially in our swing states. Let's get to work. I'm fired up. Thank you all so much.
Thank you very much. Jackson Heights in the house. So happy to have
right.
as our council member. I do want to say there's a lot of vanakkams coming in. Thank yous from all the Tamil viewers.
Vanakkam, everyone.
I have a Tamil last name, but I'm a Malayali, and so I'm representing the Keralites here. So that's also important to just say everybody counts. Everybody's going to make a difference. Please donate. Please tell us where you're watching from. Deepan saying Georgia's back in play. Poll shifted 6 points the other day. It's 48-47 Trump. So this is all going to be so close, so close. Manu, over to you.
Well, let's just jump up on that point for a second, which is I think the panel helps illustrate. We often think of America as there are red and blue states or there's red and blue territories, but I think this panel and the comment just illustrates there isn't really red and blue America. There's red and blue pockets all over the place, and we got to sort of start to break those barriers down. Arvind and Jay, you've managed to help do that in certain places, and we don't think of them necessarily as red anymore. They're more purple states. How do you do it? What's the secret?
Yeah, I mean, I will say that when I ran for office 2 years ago, my immigrant parents used rather colorful language to say, "Why the heck are you doing this?" And, you know, it really was from a place, not necessarily of fear, but of angst about how are you going to break through in a community that is not predominantly South Asian or predominantly immigrant. And what I found was meeting people where they are. That canvassing is the most powerful thing we do. You know, knocking on 13,000 doors, talking with voters, whether they were going to agree with me or not, building that relationship ultimately translated into success. And, you know, I'm up for re-election this year. I've knocked on almost 8,000 doors already this campaign. And this is what we need to do for the Harris campaign. And so it really comes down to grassroots activism and meeting voters where they are.
By the way, I just want to say Arvind skipped out on White House Diwali so he could knock doors. So he is an incredible candidate. That was a highly sought after moment. But he not only stands out amongst our community, but really in Pennsylvania, you hear any state rep, they're just blown away by Arvind as, you know, as a leader, and just seeing members of our community step up like that is recognized across the board.
Money, just to build on Arvind's point, and this it can't be understated, it can't be underlined enough. You know, when I decided to run for state senate in 2016, I read a book by Sasha Eisenberg, who used to be a New York Times reporter, called Victory Lab, and it looked at the most effective ways you can persuade voters. And there's television, and there's direct mail, and there are phone banks, and there's door knocking. But door knocking by far and away is the most effective way to persuade our voters. And Arvind is absolutely right. You got to go to where the voters are. And it's really about listening and not talking down to the voters to understand what those issues are, and then engaging them in a conversation. And in North Carolina, We know the South Asian American community can really be the margin of difference for swing states like ours, where Donald Trump only carried the state by 75,000 votes. So I think if folks, this morning don't take anything away, it's just please volunteer and sign up and go out and knock doors. It can make all the difference in the world.
Absolutely. Just a reminder to all of our listeners, the panel are our representatives and have done amazing things, but each one of us are very important and have an important role to play. So volunteering and signing up and donating are some of the first, frontline things that all of us can do. Shaker, you're a path breaker in your own way. As you indicated, Kamala Harris would be a path breaking president when we get her through. So although you are a city councilman in New York City, and that's, we would say, is sort of as deep blue as it's going to get, they didn't have an Indian American or South Asian representation until you came along. So can you explain a little bit about what it takes to break through, to be the path-breaking candidate? And even in blue areas, representation is still, we still have a long way to go. So how do we make this progress?
Well, I think you're absolutely right, Manu, that, it's the lack of representation. We can see at every level across the country too. And I think really two things are important. One, and I saw this in my campaign as well, coalition building, even for this campaign, reaching out and making sure that we are engaging every community that we can to build the broadest coalition possible, I think is so critical. In my race in Jackson Heights, that was really important. We're an extraordinarily diverse immigrant community, and I felt lucky, also as a fluent Spanish speaker, to have the support of the Latino community with me too when I ran. And I say that because it is our Asian American communities, our Latino communities, our Black communities that are going to be critical in this race. Many who will be first-time voters, including our youth too. We have to build that broad coalition that represents who we are as a big tent, as a Democratic Party too. And so I think taking that approach wherever we are to say, how can we build with other grassroots democratic organizations? How can we together make sure we reach every community in every language that we can is going to be so important. It matters in the local races as much as the national ones. And I just want to underscore the point that our other panelists who are all doing amazing work have said too. It is really true that knocking on doors, speaking to voters makes the biggest difference. I think we can all tell stories of people whose doors we knocked, who on election day itself came out and said, because you knocked my door, because we spoke to you, we're going to support you. Everyone ultimately cares deeply, red, blue, red state, blue state, purple state, right? That when you walk out your door, that, our schools have the support and resources they need, that our roads are safe and and good to travel on, that we feel safe, that our counties and communities are affordable, that we have access to healthcare. And that transcends party affiliation and whether you're a first-time voter, a frequent voter, or an infrequent voter, we have to make sure we connect with everyone on those issues and bring them out. And we're going to do so by knocking doors.
Thank you. Neil, I just want to give you the last word. I know, Sree, we gotta move on here, but Neil, I want to give you really quickly the last word, which is you've done so much to support candidates all over the country. How can people get involved? What's the secret of support? What do we need to do?
Absolutely. So thank you so much. And I mean, as you can tell, Indian Americans in office are, our representation is growing, and each leader is incredible in terms of the people you're hearing from now, and almost 50 now across the country in terms of in the states and at the federal level. And the importance of that is hard to overstate. And I'll give you one brief example. So when I ran in 23, we saw the highest increase in voter turnout of any of the Philadelphia suburbs. And in Montgomery County, we have 8% Asian American, pluralities Indian American. So when Arvind ran, I'm sure he saw the same. And when Jay ran, I'm sure the same. And same with Shaker. When people with our names, with our faces are on the ballot, when we get out there, it inspires people to step up and vote and to get involved and to reach out to government with whatever they need or whatever they're seeking to make a difference on. So I want to encourage everyone who's listening to, one, think about running, And even though we're past the petition period, although you could run as an independent still, but maybe don't do that against Kamala. Please think about running for office, because that's essential. And our community is just getting started in terms of representation. And second, for helping out now, what can you do? Get involved with Impact. We have a phenomenal team. I want to give shout outs. Chintan Patel, who's our new executive director. He came from End Citizens United, pro-democracy organization. He's leading an incredible effort to message directly to our voters, to our people, to reach out to them. Sarah and Taher, who've led our community organizing efforts and political efforts in the past. They're alums of the Georgia Senate runoffs. We learned how to target specifically through WhatsApp, through all the means that reach our community. And we saw an incredible, notable, significant, and tested increase in terms of the number of voters who turned out. So if you want to get involved in that, in reaching our community specifically, go to desipresident.com. Never been easier. And as I said, my parents bought the domain when I was born, so it was ready. And we're going to use that for everybody.
Thanks so much. We really appreciate you. We want to thank our folks who are here. State Rep Arvind Venkat, Dr. Venkat, thank you for being here. Neil Makhija, County Commissioner, Impact President, and Dr. M.J. Chaudhuri, thank you very much for being here. Good luck. Council Member Shekhar Krishnan. Please tell your friends, folks, we are live right now. You can share this and give it to your friends, and they can join right now. So thank you very much. Thank you, everybody, for watching. And we have so many great people coming. Indian Americans for Biden-Harris says, thanks, Neil. Well said. And that's so important. Indian Americans should form coalitions with Black and Latino voters. Manu, we're doing that. Manu, we're also behind schedule, but not too much, but still embarrassing enough for you and me to get this back on track. We want to show you our run of show. We are going to now bring our next team on. We are done with Group 2. Group 3 is coming up. We're going to have Gautam Raghavan and Dr. Walter Greason here with us. We have Aasif Mandvi's video that we're going to play in just a moment. And that was Neil giving me that signal when he highlighted it. And here you have also, we have Ro Khanna coming, Representative Ro Khanna, Wajahat Ali, the mayor of Cincinnati, Aftab Purval is coming, Raj Goyal, Salil Tripathi. Look at this list of folks. We are very excited about the people that are coming and who you're going to learn from all together. So please share with your family and friends right now. They can join us, and it's going to make a big, big difference. And please donate. We're going to put on stage how you can donate. Use your QR codes right now. Show your aunties and uncles how to do it. Show your children how to do it. If they are able to legally donate, they must donate. They must vote. Register your friends. Tell them to come out. We have about an hour and 15 minutes left, and we have a lot of ground to cover. And we have a video from Aasif Mandvi we're going to play. It's a little longer than we can play for you. So we're going to play the first 2 minutes or so, and we're going to stop it. We'll put it on the internet so you can see it in full. So here is actor, comedian, author, a wonderful friend of all of us. Please welcome Aasif Mandvi.
Hi there, Aasif Mandvi here. Thank you so much for inviting me and including me today in this call. Gathering of South Asian men all fired up, and it's not a product meeting at Google. That is impressive. Probably like many of you, for me, this election is really about fending off the existential threat of Donald Trump and J.D. Vance and their Christian nationalist hate-filled Project 2025 vision. It's about trying to preserve a functioning democracy, a livable planet, fundamental rights for women, racial progress instead of regression. It's about a meaningful social safety net for the 99% of us who aren't billionaires, and especially for the 38 million people who are living in poverty and 26 million without health care. To do that, I believe we must elect Kamala Harris as our next president. But I must admit, I'm also conflicted about my views and articulating my unwavering support, Perhaps like many or some of you on this call, I have felt tremendous rage and grief about the Biden administration's support and funding of Israel and their ongoing war crimes and atrocities in Gaza. And for me, that means that I also want to see a real, meaningful policy shift from the Harris campaign in the next 100 days. One that commits to an arms embargo on Israel, a position, by the way, that our own laws demand, since those weapons are being used to commit war crimes and are in violation of international law. More tactically, I believe this position will be necessary if we're to build a multi-ethnic and intergenerational coalition that attracts the Gen Z voters and Michigan voters that will be necessary to win and free up Trump to, attend his 800 criminal trials, and J.D. Vance to continue having sexual relationships with his couch instead of fucking over America.
The video goes on a little longer. He mixes. This is Aasif mixing the very serious with fun thoughts and humor. Sujana says, thank you. Nice to see you here. Thank you for fighting the good fight. And Manu, that represents the range of thoughts that people are having about this election. And what we want to do is have everybody, even who are skeptical of Kamala Harris, to be here. Only if you're involved can you have a vote and a voice. You all have a vote, but a voice, so that you can hold the feet to the fire of the people you elect. I think one of the differences between the Democrats and the Republicans, frankly, is that Republicans, as you've heard this famous saying, Republicans fall in line, Democrats fall in love. And now is the time, everybody, not to fall in line, but to get your friends and family to vote, to participate, to get involved, because we have to make a difference. We have a lot of ground to cover here. A thought from you, Manu, and then we'll move on.
Well, I just want to say, I think Aasif's video is really important because it does say that while we want everyone to participate, and we also want to open the door, and we want to make sure that people's voices are heard. I think that's also what we want to make sure that Kamala Harris as president represents, which is an open door and an open ear. These are very big and important issues and very meaningful to so many people. We want to make sure that that message gets across.
Thank you. Deepan says, I know we always have to go high when they go low, but unfortunately MAGA doesn't care. Sanjay says, love the movement, Aasif, and thank you for participating. Tell us where you're watching from. Tell us what you're doing. Are you going to volunteer? Are you going to send notes to your family and friends? They can watch right now on South Asian Men for Harris. If they search it on YouTube, they can watch. Please tag your friends, tell them to tell their family and others to join us. We have about an hour left and we have some incredible speakers, but let's get going to see who's here with us for this final hour of this South Asian Men and Friends for Harris. Hey, it's Gautam Raghavan and Professor Walter Greason. Thank you so much. And I see Raj Goyal here as well. He was a former state rep and Impact co-founder. We just heard from our friends who were just here, including Neil Makhija. I know you all have a lot of different thoughts, but before that, I want to just remind everyone to please share this. We're live on Facebook, Twitter, YouTube, LinkedIn. Please share it with your friends. We want everybody to watch. They can watch live or later. This is on a Saturday morning in the US. It'll be recorded and available to everybody. Gautam, you have been helping behind the scenes put this together. You've done so much for various administrations, including the Obama administration, the Obama-Biden administration, the Biden-Harris administration. We are delighted to have you here. Thank you for your leadership and your thoughts.
Yeah, thanks for having me. And I have to legally clarify, I'm here in my personal capacity.
Of course.
As you can tell, I'm fired up. It's 90 degrees and humid outside, but I've got my Vote for Auntie hoodie on. Because as everyone has said up until this moment, the stakes in this election are incredibly high. I've been in Washington, D.C. for about 20 years. I've had the honor in that period of time to work for both President Obama and President Biden, two incredible public servants and great Americans. And so I know from that experience that the vice president is absolutely more than ready for this moment. I remember, like many of you, The first time I heard her speak was back in 2008 when we were doing an Obama campaign fundraiser in San Francisco, and she introduced him, and just being so impressed by her brilliance, her tenacity, her grit, her strength. And we've seen all of that on display ever since then as Attorney General, as Senator, and certainly as Vice President. And I think more than that, and something that I care deeply about, is her authenticity, right? She knows who she is. She knows where she came from. If you've heard her speak about, growing up and going to India in the summer and taking walks on the beach in Chennai with her grandfather, and the legacy of her mother as an immigrant to America and what it was like to grow up in that household, every part of her is authentic. She knows exactly why she is in it. And so we've got to have her back. And so I'm fired up about this election and excited to see this organization come together.
Thank you. We're not an organization. We're just friends trying to help all the folks doing great work. You're getting shout outs for your hoodie there, Gautam. So thank you. Raj, I know you're in the middle of so many other things, as you always are, helping so many institutions. Tell me your thoughts on this special day and this special 100 days coming up.
Well, yeah, appreciate it, Sree. Obviously, good to see so many good friends, and obviously Gautam. We go back, I think, 350 years at this point. So, but I just got to say very briefly, you've had so many great speakers. For those of you who don't know, I was one of the first Indians elected in the country in 2006, which was, I think, 300 years ago. And I heard the other state rep talking to Arvind about, having knocked 15,000 doors myself. I remember when a $50 check was a big deal. I've now moved $1 million check. Life is very interesting in politics over the years. And I just really want to say two things that I think maybe, unfortunately, I haven't been able to watch the whole thing. I'm actually overseas right now. But two things, which is the history of the community politically. And Gautam made reference to the 08. I think a lot of us met Kamala in 08. I met her at the Democratic Convention in Denver, and we became friends ever since then. And, when in the 90s, when it was a big deal to intern at a convention, I interned at the 96th Democratic Convention in Chicago, and that got you in India abroad. And, at that point, that would, get you some brownie points with your brown uncles and aunties. And so I remember when I got elected in 06, there were, I think, 5 of us on state ledges. And I think Neil mentioned there's now 50-ish. I mean, it's incredible. But as is typical with our community, we're now ahead of schedule. And so the notion and the reality that we're going to elect an Indian American president of the United States is so staggering that it's really even hard to get one's head around it. But I would just want to remind everybody, but this is on an arc and on a trajectory and a timeline that many of us knew would happen if we just put our head down and did the work. So when I first conceived of the idea of impact, which was when I first got elected, there was no infrastructure. Nobody taught me. I had a fancy Harvard Law degree, but nobody taught me how to knock a door, to have dog treats in my right pocket so that I could get conversation time at the door. These are all the things of real campaigning, how to raise money and so on. And so, and now we look at ourselves and what she represents. It's really the culmination, and I think we should just almost take a breath and understand, even with just 100 days to make history, how momentous that is. The second point I want to make is that I was elected as a progressive brown guy in the reddest state in America, arguably, and I was in the reddest district that it was held by a Democrat. And so I just want to say that this election is still, obviously, we're very euphoric and giddy right now, but it's a very, very hard election. There's still a lot that we have to make up, a lot of lost ground. And, James Carville's been out there saying this, Rui Teixeira. And so we really have to gird our loins for this battle that we have upon us, but it can be done. And if you look at the first wave of Desis elected, they were not in San Francisco or the Bay Area. They were in rural Iowa, Kansas, rural Ohio. So I'm only saying that to remind everybody that these battles can be won. When the pundits said, hey, look, she can't really persuade these voters in the blue wall states, it's bullshit. She absolutely can, because we've done it before. And with this kind of energy and enthusiasm, it can be done. So I just want to give you those two quick thoughts and say thank you to the non-organization, to this group of activity and energy, this, let's call it this nerve center that is tremendous. So thank you very much.
Thank you, Raj and Gautam, both of you. you have so many things to do, but you still help us novices in this field, newbies to politics. You folks are the OG. Ruby Thomas says, so proud of our South Asian men coming together, sending love and light to all. So beautiful. Thank you, Ruby. I want you to know, Raj, Gautam, Walter, Manu, the reason I know we need to do this, we were overwhelmed at one point, and Manu says, should we do this? And I read him a note from a woman who said, I want my elderly father to watch this. I'm getting goosebumps thinking about it. It was so beautiful. And this is for her father, all our children, everybody, that this is not just men, this is everyone coming together to support Kamala Harris. And Raj, I know you need to jump, so anytime, please do step away when you're ready. But now let's bring in an ally who has seen a lot, who has done a lot. Nihal, who's a good friend of his, is going to jump in here and introduce properly Walter Greason.
Walter, I don't know how to properly introduce you. I just know that you have been supportive of everything we've done online, on social. I want to tell everyone that first of all, Walter Grayson from Macalester College is an Afrofuturist. He's a professor of history, art, and economics. But more than that, he does what Sree does so well. He brings people together. He builds community. He, looks for ways to amplify everyone else's projects, not just his own. The most unselfish person that I know on social media. Walter, you sent me a message early this morning that this was an honor for you to be part of this conversation. I want to say for everyone, it is always an honor to have you be a part of any project you're doing. And I would have you with us every step of the way. Anything we're up to, you're always going to be with us. With that, Walter, please share some knowledge with us.
Neil, you're going to have me start crying in front of all these folks as we just get started, but thank you for that extraordinary, kind, and generous introduction. My name's Walter. I am a professor of history, art, and economics at Macalester College in St. Paul, Minnesota, an institution that was the first to ally with the United Nations to create the opportunities that we all live, that we've seen explored today. But this is so much more personal to me. And this is something I've never talked about publicly before. People tend to see me as African American. My parents were one of the first couples to be legally married after the Loving decision. And so I've always had a very multiracial, multi-ethnic foundation for my life. And so to come and speak with the South Asian men for Kamala Harris is a huge life moment for me, because the school that I attended was over 30% South Asian. Outside of my birth family, the people who cared most about me and shaped my early life were Bangladeshi and Pakistani and Hindu and Muslim, Punjabi and Christian. And I've never had the chance to be in community in quite this way in my entire life. And so that deep family and cultural connection has opened up the world to me in so many ways. I'm joining you today from San Diego. I'm here for the Comic-Con International. And I'm particularly here because I helped design Wakanda for the Black Panther films. And I've done more than any other academic in studying what it means to create fiction that bridges gaps. Years ago, working with an impact chapter in Philadelphia, I worked with Rajiv Shah, who was the first South Asian to head USAID. And through him, we got to meet and talk with Jhumpa Lahiri. And this work has been part of who I am for a very long time. But the foundation is, for me, Martin Luther King's respect, admiration, and dedication to the idea of truth force as framed by Mahatma Gandhi. And so the connection between African diaspora and the South Asian communities around the world is a profound piece of my life. And it's the basis by which I've been able to pull together.
I'll get back. Gitesh is not coming, no.
Coalitions from everybody, including hosting and expanding Diwali celebrations at universities, especially in Pennsylvania, to bring in new groups of people to learn about South Asian cultures and to learn the languages and to respect not just difference, but similarity and how we build a new world together. And that's literally the moment that we are in right now. The work that we're doing in this moment is building a world that should have existed 500 years ago without European colonization and imperialism. But we can do this work today by supporting Kamala Harris for president and leave behind the segregation, the enslavement, the exploitation, and the extraction that has shaped the modern world. And so my core commitment to you all today is to support you wherever you are. I'm in the upper Midwest. I'm doing a lot to work in Wisconsin and Iowa to close margins and to increase the possibility of victories in unlikely places. I do a ton of work where I was born, in New Jersey and New York and Pennsylvania, into Delaware and Maryland and up to Massachusetts and Connecticut. I'm here for you wherever you are. I am determined to create the coalitions that we need to win in November, but to build the coalition that makes our future stronger in ways that our children and grandchildren will benefit from. I stand here with you in solidarity to pledge every resource I have and to give particularly the skills and resources I have for collaboration so that South Asian leaders like yourselves can go out into the world, into any home, into any community, and connect with people who share your values, who share your vision, and make a stronger country and a better world for everyone. So thank you for letting me be a part of the conversation.
Wow. Walter, this is so amazing. We heard and learned so much from you over the years, but I did not know this angle, and we're very grateful. By the way, look at all the comments coming in. Lord of the Rings Season 2, let's form the Fellowship for Kamala. Sujana says, beautiful, Professor Walter Greason. Wakanda forever to me means community like this forever. And the critic says, I wrote a review of Black Panther focusing on how it asks a key question about identity that minorities all face at some point. Who am I? And here's true intersectionality. We are benefited by the path cleared by our Black brothers and sisters, 100%. And we need to acknowledge that every single time. That's so important. Unity and diversity. Yeah, please, Raj, go ahead.
Well, I just say, Professor, we haven't had a chance to work together, but certainly heard of your work. And, you know, for a young guy, when I was in Wichita, Kansas in the 80s, I was reading about, obviously, Gandhi getting thrown off the train in Peter Maritzburg in South Africa, which obviously then formed his philosophy that to do satyagraha and obviously lead the independence movement in India. It actually led me to work in South Africa in '98 for Archbishop Tutu on the Truth Commission. And so I just say this, and then in some small way, and a very minor thing I did was getting elected in Kansas. It's so fascinating, these ripples of history and what you mentioned, because until you had reminded me of my own inspiration, I had even forgotten it. And so you lifted it up for me in this moment, which was to say, you know, as to how these things all cross those currents. So I really do think that I have to say one other thing. This is more the political hack in those of us in the game, which is all the pundits, all casting aspersions week after week, month after month, year after year, that never made sense to any of us who knew Kamala Harris, who knew politics. And now look at what's happening. Authentic, organic, incredible excitement. You know, I have a quote in Politico saying, I don't think I've ever seen this euphoria ever. Gotham and I met on the Obama campaign in 2008. To be honest, this is a 100-day thing, and that was magic in a bottle. This might be magicer in a bottle, you know, so I just think I really appreciate you bringing up the historical and obviously the intersectionality. But thank you, and it really is a momentous time.
Thank you. And before we go to Gautam for his thoughts, Sudha Parekh, Neil's mom's watching. Professor Walter Greason, thank you for your pioneering and important work. And look at Mohan. Walter, that was beautiful. Thank you. This is why we do this, so that we can get comments in from everyone in this format versus Zoom. And Bisham, who is a leader in our community, Indo-Caribbean, is incredible. Thank you, Bisham. Black-brown unity, we need that. We have
I'm going to bring in, you brought in Sudha Parekh. I want to bring in Harish Parekh as well. It's a family affair. My uncle from Long Island. If folks watched the earlier, he's also very close to Deven, who was on our first panel. But Walter, I had not known those anecdotes that you shared before today. I was miming to Sree backstage. Boom. Oh my God. I was so thrown off. My apologies for interrupting your your comments with some backstage production chatter. But it really was moving to hear that. I want to make sure we got George Matthews' comment in there. So moved to hear Walter Grayson. I am reminded of Senator Paul Wellstone, a great model in Minnesota public life. Senator Wellstone was also an idol of mine growing up. So
and a professor of where I went to college at Carleton.
And a professor at Carleton, absolutely.
Could I drop one more geeky thing just because this moment's happening? If you remember, it was my hero, Harris Wofford, recently departed, obviously former U.S. Senator from Pennsylvania, a great battleground today, who went to India in 1950. And he and Bayard Rustin took Gandhi and nonviolence to King. Professor Gleason probably forgotten more than any of us will know about it. But, you know, I revered Harris growing up. And I have to say, it really does all come full circle. So what Kamala represents of twinning all these traditions would just be mind-blowing.
And Representative John Lewis recreated that trip to India 50 years later, which was incredible.
I didn't know
well.
that.
And here is Sham saying, your story of multiculturalism, multi-race, a great example of how our campaign should have an all-inclusive coalition. And tired old dude, that could be me, says, proud to have Dr. Greason as my brother. Thank you very much. If you know who that is, you can give him a shout out. And
that's one of my contacts in Massachusetts, someone I've known almost my whole life. And so he wants to remain anonymous. I'm not going to put the light on him. But I do want to say to everybody just for a moment, I have a unique occasion conference in Pittsburgh that's happening in late September, where we have space to do this work in person, especially in Western PA and reaching into Western Virginia and Ohio. And so if anyone would like to be a part of that, please reach out and stay in touch about doing what we're doing right now in person, September 28, 29.
We have somebody who's going to join us because he has to leave, and then Gautam will just bring you in. Let's go. Yes, we can. We're not going back. Neil, let's bring him from backstage.
Bring in Ro Khanna, Representative Ro Khanna. Thank you so much for staying with us and your patience. Sorry that we're running a little bit late. I'm going to blame Walter because he's such an incredible person. I couldn't stop talking about him. I guess it's my fault. But Representative Khanna, thank you for joining us. Please share a few words. What does this mean? Kamala Harris on the verge, being the nominee, hopefully on the verge of the presidency. What does this mean to you?
Well, Neil, thank you. And Sree, thank you. I have never seen excitement like this in our community. It is extraordinary. And I see Gautam and Raj and others who were in the trenches for decades. And I couldn't have conceived of this moment. I mean, we were clawing to just get internships back 20 years ago. And I am so proud of Vice President Harris. She has earned this. She had to claw her way to win that district attorney race when I first met her in San Francisco. That was not an easy race. She took on the establishment. She won. She had a very tough race for the attorney general. People don't remember that was not a time California was clearly blue, and she won. And she won in the Senate, and then ran a extraordinary campaign for president as the first South Asian African-American woman, and such a compelling case that she got on the ticket with the vice president. We have a clear case to make against Donald Trump. They are going to be for reversing all of the gains of the Biden-Harris administration, the infrastructure bill that we passed that are creating jobs, the Inflation Reduction Act that we passed that is helping put money in the pockets of the working class, the CHIPS Act that are bringing semiconductors. They're going to be for corporate tax cuts. They're going to hurt people in the working and middle class. Vice President Harris is going to be for raising their wages. She's going to be for investing in communities that have been left out. She's going to be for a massive child care for people. So we need to go out and make the economic case that the Biden administration has reversed trickle-down economics, is for the middle class, and that the vice president's going to continue that. As a South Asian, I'm incredibly proud, and it's historic for our country. But more than that, as someone who cares about America, I know that Vice President Harris is our best chance to bring this country together, to offer a hopeful vision, and to offer real solutions to the economic anxieties that Americans have. So thank you for being on this call. And I also want to thank Aasif. I heard his point. I think we have a great chance to pivot on our policy on Gaza. I was one of 37 Democrats who voted against the offensive weapons I think we can move the platform in that direction with the vice president. I want to thank all of you for all of your participation, and I'm excited to go win this campaign. It is absolutely winnable. The polls show it tied in all the battleground states. Don't believe the pundits, and that's Fox News polls, by the way. The momentum is on our side, and we can win this race, and we'll win this race.
Thank you so much.
Thank you.
All the great comments coming in. We really appreciate it. Ro, I know you're busy campaigning, doing so much. So whenever you need to jump, Gautam.
Thank you. Thank you for having me. Thank you, Sree. Great.
Thank you, Ro. Go ahead, Gautam, your thoughts.
Well, just to close it out, I mean, look, I think we should bring it back to the point, right? What is at stake in this election? And I think it's one word, and that's freedom, right? It's the soundtrack for the vice president's campaign, the Beyonce song. And it really does come down to freedom and what is our future going to look like. And I say that as an immigrant, naturalized citizen myself. I say that as a gay man in an interracial marriage. When we got married, our marriage was legal in 6 states in DC, and now it's everywhere. And I say that as a father of a young 7-year-old girl. And so for me, this is deeply personal. And I have a feeling for every single person who is here and listening in, it is personal in some way. And so we've just got to organize the heck out of this and get people out to the polls, talk to the skeptics, bring people into this movement, and then go win this on election day.
Thank you. Thank you very much. We are a little behind, so we're going to bring our other guests on. We want to thank all of you for being here, for being with us. Raj, Walter, and Gautam, thank you very much. Good luck with everything you're doing. And we got 100 days. Let's go, everybody. Let's go. Thank you very much. Manu, how are you feeling? How's the energy?
Well, energy is pretty great. I think the takeaway from this panel is that what we want and what we are all thinking about is family. We're thinking of ourselves as this incredibly diverse, networked family of all kinds of different people. And I think that's what the campaign that Trump is running is trying to wreck, led by his vice president, Vance, who doesn't seem to appreciate all the contributions that all of the different kinds of people in the world can contribute to. On that note, I think we have a video from a pretty incredible person, Raza Rumi.
Yeah. And then we're going to bring on Wajahat Ali and friends. Reminder to vote, everybody. Donate.
Hi, my name is Raza Rumi, and I support Harris for this presidential race. As a South Asian American, I think this is a great moment in the US history. It is a moment that must be seized. A strong woman of color, accomplished, and with a strong record and experience under her belt. More importantly, driving some sanity, some humanity, compassion into the US politics is the need of the hour. And therefore, I support her focus not only on reproductive rights, on stopping the democratic backsliding that has been underway for so many years, and more importantly, sending someone in the White House who can take decisions for all Americans, regardless of their race, regardless of their color, their faith, and their class. And I hope that Kamala Harris will and should rise to the occasion. I think the other important part I would like to emphasize is that she would need to distance herself from the administration's policy on Gaza, which has attracted a lot of criticism and has driven young voters away because of the kind of blind support to an ongoing genocide in the occupied territories of Palestine. And I think that is where a more nuanced, a more compassionate and responsible US policy is needed. I hope she can do that. It is too early, it is too soon, but we should hope that there's a new beginning in the role of the United States in the world, as well as at home, and heal some of the wounds and heal some of the divisions and the acrimony and the hate that has spread over the last few years. So all power and luck to Kamala Harris, wishing you the very best for the race, and hope you get there in the White House in January 2025.
Raza Rumi, professor, editor-at-large of the Friday Times, and a great, great man here, right here in New York City. Manu, thank you for bringing him to us. We have another great panel ready to go. So let's bring folks on. By the way, somebody said something nice here. Great panel and moderation by Sree and Manu. This is not about us. This is about the incredible team of people who are working on this project. We have 75 hours from idea to execution, but we've had 30, 40, 100 years of effort by the community to do this. We're humbled by the work of the South Asian women who came together, the Black women who came together, the white women who came together and did that panel. One of the organizers is watching and said she's so happy to see this. So thank you, everybody. And let's go, Neil. Let's see who's coming up next. Here's Wajahat Ali, Anurima Bhargava, Rahul Bhavnani, Salil Tripathi, Rajan Shah. This is not going to be like Fox or Indian television where everyone's screaming at each other. We're all here to talk, to learn, unlike those other organizations where it was mostly let's raise money, which we had to do. Here, we need to also learn, understand. A lot of political newbies here, but we have experts to teach us. Wajahat, you've been very patient. Let's go to you to start us off. Wajahat Ali is podcaster, Substack writer, newsletter guy. You see him on TV all the time, and he's going to remind us of all the great work he's doing, but also where we go from here. Wajahat.
I love to join the Desi Brady bunch. We didn't have this growing up, and nice to see. Let me try it. Yeah, am I doing it right? Okay. And like a good Desi uncle at the age of 43, I'm sitting here with my chai. The stereotypes are true. We become our dadas and chachas and abus and ammis. I am the son of Pakistani immigrants who came here after the 1965 Immigration Nationality Act, and my parents thought it'd be hilarious to give me a trisyllabic name, Wajahat, to blend. And this was in the year 1980. And there's another person who has a trisyllabic name, who is the daughter of Indian immigrants, Kamala Harris. And speaking about where we're going, let me tell you where we've been. Our parents' generation, when they came here, post-1965, many of our parents, they didn't see people like us on Zoom, on television, in the movie screens, getting elected. I remember my parents' generation, they loved this movie, Sree, and you know this movie, called The Party, starring Peter Sellers, a white man, as Harini V. Bakshi, an bumbling Indian actor. And I remember growing up, we saw this movie, The Party, and we laughed, birdie num num. And I asked my father, once I got a little bit older, I'm like, this is a white man in brown paint. Why do all these Desi uncles and aunties love this movie? And someone told me one time, because he is the hero of the story, he gets the girl at the end. But think about it. It was a white man in brown paint. Our parents' generation couldn't even dream or imagine one of us authentically occupying that space as the hero of the American narrative. They were so happy just to see some brown character being the hero. But here we are, and with my generation, we had Apu, a 2D character, again, voiced by a white guy. And we picked up the pen and we said, no, we're going to be the heroes of this story. And we tried our best. And we've come to a point right now where it's Kamala Harris, a Black Indian woman from my home state of California who is thoroughly experienced, district attorney, attorney general, senator, and vice president. And this is the moment. And I want to tell everyone that I'm not just one person who follows the cult of personality. I'm not just one person who follows any Desi. There's a reason why I've never joined a call for Vivek, or I've never joined a call for Nikki Haley. The reason I'm joining this particular call is because she is thoroughly qualified. And in many of our communities, you know that they say, both sides are the same. Folks, both sides are not the same. Salam, Al-Mugan. Both sides are not the same. The stakes are very real here. Our parents came here for the sake of democracy. Our parents came here for the sake of freedoms. Our parents came here for education. Our parents came here for an opportunity for a Zoom panel like this to happen, populated by elected officials, people who write for the New York Times, people on television, our generation that was able to make it. And right now, the stakes could not be clearer. We have a person, Donald Trump, yesterday, a convicted criminal who at Turning Point openly said that if you elect him, there will not be election in 4 years. He said that, folks. He said that he'll be a dictator for a day. He incited a violent insurrection. Kamala Harris and Democrats, they have their flaws, but they will at least protect and preserve this democracy. Number two, freedoms. They will protect and advance our freedoms that Republicans want to take away. 51% of the population, women, our moms, our sisters, our daughters, have lost a right Roe v. Wade was overturned. They lost a fundamental right. This generation of women has less rights than previous generations. I just want you to sit with that for a second. And then Republicans are also going after no-fault divorce, IVF, abortion pills, and also birth control. And then our elders, our chachas, our dadas, our parents who have worked so hard, Republicans are going after Social Security and Medicare. And so it's going to take a multicultural coalition. It will take all of us. And finally, let me tell you this, Kamala Harris and the Democrats know it's going to take brown people, black people, women, oftentimes the rest of us who are sidelined. We're not going to be on the sidelines anymore. They need us, and they need our votes to win this election. And Kamala Harris, she comes from our communities. She has the ear to the ground. So it's not enough just to mobilize and organize. We also have to be loud and flex and tell the Democrats what we want. And on this final point, I'll say with Gaza, I'm glad Reza talked about it and Aasif talked about it. 50% of Democratic voters, 50% of Biden voters think what's happening is a genocide. Republicans, Democrats, and independents want a ceasefire. And what Kamala Harris said yesterday, at least I know the bar is low, folks, it was a change of tone. There was compassion and empathy. So it's up to all of us to push, push, push. And I'll be damned if I tell my children they're going back. I have 3 beautiful brown-skinned children. They have trisyllabic names because, damn it, if I had to suffer, they have to suffer as well. And forget it, man. They're not going back. No one's going back. And I'm going to tell my 2 daughters, just like I did when Kamala Harris and President Biden were elected, I sat my 2 daughters, Sree, on the couch, and I said, look at that. That's a brown-skinned woman, Kamala Harris. She comes from India. I come from Pakistan. It was all big one subcontinent, but she is the vice president. And one day you too, inshallah, can be president. I want you to dream big. So let's go for the dream. And this time we can achieve it. Thank you for coming to my TED Talk.
Thank you. Folks, follow him, please. Make sure your wife, look at his girl. Look at those girls there. Excellent. And they've got the coconut ready to go. Thank you, girls. We love that. We love that. One of the things that you want more of Wajahat, please check out his Democracy-ish podcast and his amazing newsletter, The Left Hook. So everybody, please check that out. Wajahat, we met at Uncle Hamid's house, and I'm sure you remember that exact moment. We have so many great comments coming in. Sham saying, love everything you stood for and have raised awareness for Wajahat Ali. And Fahim says, both sides are not the same. Say it louder for the people in the back, which is so, so important. Thank you for you being with us. We have so many great people here, so many allies, friends. We want to now go to the woman who helped make the other day happen. The other day is the reason we're doing this. And that woman is Anurima Bhargava. Anu, thank you for being us. Thank you for your leadership in everything you do. And just want you to share your thoughts. And thank you for being with us.
Thank you, Sree and Manu. Let me just say, this is about this screen being all of us, right? This is the moment. And what we wanted to do on Wednesday was to tap into what we've seen this week, which is the sense that the world is not well, and every one of us can do something about that. And that's what you're seeing this entire week, right? Which is this feeling that this is a moment for all of us to step up, and everybody can. And so I think so much of what we've been trying to do, in terms of the energy, is to create a space where we had a group of us. I'm going to shout everybody out because I think it's so important. This was a couple of people on a WhatsApp being like, maybe we should do something for South Asian women. And so I want to shout out my fellow organizers, Venu Gupta, Palak Sheth, Mansi Shah, Deepthi Sharma, Leah Tachil, Tara Abrams, and then the Product of Culture team who produced at the last minute, and then this incredible group of sisters who came on the screen to ground us, to inspire us, and to talk about the ways in which we all can work together collectively to get involved. This is about what South Asians for Harris and so many other organizations have been doing, which is to really get people involved. And the greatest thing about Wednesday, for me, was that 500 people signed up to take action during the call. So we raised, $300,000. We raised, we had 10,000 plus registered and on the live stream. That moment of people feeling like it's my time and it's our time is the most important part of this. So just to go with the theme, we've had Black women, Black men, South Asian women, white women, We've had everything in between. And now we're going into the next phase, which is the Avengers coming together, united for Kamala. And that is what we're seeing, which is to the moment of us getting past our divides and really coming together. And so I hope that we all feel like we can be a part of this. I'm so glad that moms and dads and uncles and aunties and everybody else, it's not about getting, about all of them. It's about what they can do in the world, because this is our communities, this is our neighborhoods, these are the ways, this is our country to be able to make better. So yes, thank you for having me. I will talk a little bit more about the ways to get involved, but I'm so glad that we have someone who is running for president of the United States, who understands the importance of women's agency, of care, of what it means for us to have choice in what we're doing in every part of our lives. And so it's great to be a part of this.
Thank you. And Lavina says she's joining late, but such a learning experience to hear about all these great experiences. Go Kamala. And just want to say to all of you, that's Anurima. We have so many great folks here. We're going to hear from all of them, run a little panel. We are running late. We still have a video from the mayor of Cincinnati. Most of you don't know the mayor of Cincinnati is half Tibetan, half Indian, Aftab Purival. And he's sending us a video. He would have been here, but he is eulogizing a great Black leader in the community who passed away. So thank you all for being here. Please donate. The money that goes directly to the Harris campaign is going to be tracked by us. We're not going to be anywhere near the great work the women did because we're just starting. We're just learning from you, Anu, and everybody else. Let's go to Rajan Shah, who's with us. Rajan, dear friend, who among so many other things, organized the South Asian Bloc Party first for Obama and then for Biden, and founded South Asians in Media and Marketing, SAMA, a groundbreaking organization that made such a difference for all of us here in New York. Over to you, Rajan Shah.
Hey, Sree, thanks so much for that incredible introduction. First of all, the reason we are a little behind is not that because the women went first, is that we generally are behind the women. So let's be very clear about that. But it seems though, as Anurima is shaking her head very, very aggressively, it's very true. No, thanks for the introduction, Sree. Congratulations to you and Manu and the whole team for putting this amazing event together. I think following up on Anurima is not easy. Anyone who's ever tried to do it usually fails because she's always doing amazing things. And the fact that she was able to mobilize 5,000 women plus to get together was absolutely phenomenal.
10,
Look, I'm sorry?
10,000.
Oh, 10,000.
Fact check.
No. I'm in marketing, man. I had to say 5,000 so it even sounds bigger, No, that is staggering and it's amazing and congratulations. It's what needs to happen, and that's why I think, Sree, what you guys have done is amazing. Look, I'm just going to hit on 3 very quick points from my perspective. I'm sure throughout the whole call, everyone's been talking about how important it is to get out and vote, knock on doors, give money, all of the things that have to happen. Anurima has been brilliant at developing resources for that. I know she's going to be sharing it. There have been groups like South Asians for Biden, now South Asians for Harris, led by Harini and Nihal, which is amazing, groups like Impact. The thing I wanted to mention, guys, is as men, there is not a necessarily singular issue that galvanizes us, say, like reproductive rights, although choice for me is one of the big reasons I'm a Democrat. I think it's easy to get very excited right now about what's happening in the space. There's a lot of excitement around Vice President Harris becoming the next president, and she will, with all of our help. But I think what's really important to note, and hopefully it's been brought up by others earlier today, this is still going to be a tight election. Once we get through the next several weeks of excitement, coalition building, this is going to be tight. And it means not only knocking on doors, giving money and volunteering, but as men, especially knowing that the issues sets are so different. It could be the economy, it could be rights, it could be women's rights, it could be budget deficit. Those issues are in the are driven by the middle. And at the end of the day, this is going to be a swing state election. So the one thing I want to note, on top of agreeing with everything that's been said today about being proud that Vice President Harris is now going to be our nominee, or is going to be our nominee, is that for all of us, in every conversation we're having with friends, we're going out to play a game, we're going out to a meeting, we're going out to a dinner, is to talk to those people that we think are in the middle. That is going to be critical, and finding a way to speak about it, because we don't all agree as a party. I think someone said that earlier. We are not a monolithic party. We have a middle, we have a far left, we have a center, all legitimate, by the way. But us being able to talk to each other with respect and be able to acknowledge that there are different points of view and get everyone out there to come out and vote and support Vice President Harris is going to be critical. Those of you that have friends that are maybe right-leaning, I have friends in North Carolina, a really critical state. I know Jay Chaudhuri was on a call. I have some friends who are truly Republican, not Trump supporters, but getting them to make sure they get out and vote the way they would have, say, for a President Biden is going to be really critical. So I just want to make sure that through the day that we not only get excited, but that we remember that this race is going to be won ultimately by a few handful of states. We got to win in all of the states, but we got to make sure we step up and talk to all those people that are not just like us, but even those people that are not like us. So I wanted to point that out. The second thing, now going to this more from a South Asian perspective for a second, as Sree mentioned, I was very proud, along with a very large team, including with a lot of help from Anurima and many people that you saw through the day, to host a South Asian Bloc Party for Biden, which was an incredible event for one particular reason. Wajahat mentioned it earlier. We had never seen so many South Asians that were in positions of influence, not necessarily from a political standpoint. We had South Asians for Biden, again, Nihal and Harini. Like we knew how to get votes in the grassroots because of them. We knew how to go get elected through organizations like Impact, founded by Raj and now led by Nihal. But we hadn't really ever brought together the group of South Asians that are in the entertainment industry and in the media industry that had so much influence. Many of them were involved at the individual level. Mindy was very involved. Padma was very involved. I mean, you could go through a list. Aasif was very involved. But to bring that group together was really powerful. The reason I bring that up is we got a call 3 weeks later from the administration and from the DNC saying that event, along with everything else, really made a difference. So we often hear about how based on numbers and based on our population that our vote matters. But we heard directly that South Asians were making a difference in the swing states because of events like that. So what I will keep saying is we matter. We matter in a way that we did not matter, say, when President Clinton was running, when our money mattered. We mattered certainly when President Obama was running, when we just started to get grassroots going. But the fact that today we are mattering on all fronts is really a big deal. So acknowledging the incredible work of the people on this call and that we do make a difference. Last thing on Vice President Harris that I will say, every president from Clinton onward to President Biden have made more and more progress in promoting South Asians. Under President Clinton, for the first time, you saw him going to India with a lot of South Asians and really putting South Asia and India specifically on a certain agenda. President Obama did that and built on that when you saw a lot of the people today that were working for President Obama. President Biden, to his credit, and I know there were some comments earlier, again, all legitimate, no other president has done as much for South Asians and Indian Americans and other people of brown background in this country. Both not only the number of South Asians from a Pakistani running their climate change group to the number of South Asians that are in the staff. We actually had a very prominent South Asian media personality go and meet with almost 50 people working at the White House. I believe Vice President Harris, when she is president, is going to take it even one step further. I mean, just thinking about the people she has around her on her campaign that are of South Asian descent is incredible. So, and it's not because she's South Asian to me that we elect her. Or vote for. It's not just because she's a woman, but it's because of what that means, not only for your kids, but what that means in terms of the ability to influence government with not just soft power, but hard power. So I'm speaking very quickly because I tend to speak a lot. So I wanted to get that in. So please, everyone get out, talk to your friends, especially in swing states, talk to other guys you guys are hanging out with, and acknowledge what they believe in, but definitely give them your point of view and get them over the finish line to vote Democratic all the way down and for Vice President Harris. And obviously go out and knock on doors and let's get her elected. We're going to make this happen. So
Thank you. So well said. Donate now and show the strength. Our votes matter. Money also matters. So donate now. Moderators, please push for more donations. So the URL is on the screen. You'll see here it is. Here's a QR code, so you can just grab it right now. Please donate. Even a few dollars makes a difference. I just donated because we want to make a difference. We've raised several $1,000s already. We'll get the final numbers later, but we're all learning, and we're so grateful for everybody to be here. You're going to hear from Deven, who's also on South Asians for Harris. You'll hear from her later, and with so much more to go, but we're very limited time, so we want to get to our other speakers as well. Rahul Bhavnani, you're next. Please, thank you for being here, for being an OG in the democratic world, and you are doing so many important things, but you've made time for us here today. Oh, yeah, muted. We're just going to unmute right there. We got it almost.
There I am. Sorry about that. Thank you so much, Sree. Thank you, Manu. And thank you, Nihal, for amazing production of today's event and inviting me to this incredible group of speakers you've assembled in only a couple of days. I am truly, truly impressed. And whoever said you need 2 to 4 years to put a presidential campaign together is dead wrong. You guys, the three of you, have shown us that people of goodwill with an idea and passion can make things happen and make them happen fast. So I'm Rahul Bhavnani. I live in the great state of New York, the great city of New York, and the great borough of Brooklyn. I'm on the executive team of Betterment, but I'm also involved in a range of civic advocacy work here in my spare time. I know a bunch of you because I co-founded the India Center Foundation, which has worked for years to lift up and amplify South Asian creative voices here in the United States. And I got to tell you, I'm incredibly excited for Kamala Harris to be the 47th president of these United States. She's going to be an amazing president, and she is absolutely ready to lead us forward. I also really want to tip my hat to Joe Biden for his incredible leadership for our country and his heroic act of bravery and humility in passing the torch to the next generation of leadership in this political season. But I just wanted to talk about one kind of deeply personal dimension of Kamala's story, and it's actually a Barack Obama story too that touches me to the core, and I wanted to share with you. And that's being mixed race, which is what I am, and how belonging, B in DEIB, is actually one of the hardest things to crack in this world and in this society. So I grew up in relative privilege. I didn't have to worry about where my next meal was coming from. I didn't have to worry about whether my folks could pay the mortgage. I've been very lucky and blessed. My father came to this country from India, but he came here from a privileged background there, and he came to attend an Ivy League school. My mother's white and grew up in a comfortable upper middle class family here in New York. I have all the things that comprise the American dream. But the one thing personally that I've had to navigate in relative isolation until recently as a kid and as a young adult was being of two races. In Indian communities, I was the white guy, the one who didn't know all the traditions, the one who didn't grow up eating Indian food every night, the one who didn't go to India every summer to see their relatives. In white communities, I was the brown kid. I was the Indian kid who had a funny name and showed up dark in all of our class photos. To move between these two worlds, I've had to learn how to be something of a chameleon, I guess, to navigate the fact that I would never be quite accepted by either. And now to see a candidate in Donald Trump who exploits the idea of what team, what clan, what gang you belong to as the motivating idea behind his campaign is completely disheartening to someone like me. Since my childhood, I've been motivated by the fact that identity and race has in fact become more fluid and less important in terms of what marks you and what lifts you up. He is flipping that progress on its head and wants to go backwards. I don't want us to go backwards. Kamala Harris has had to navigate a similar journey and has done it beautifully and successfully, and shows us that putting two traditions together is more than 1 + 1 = 2. To me, she's incredibly motivating, someone who can really bring us together and where we all belong in a Harris administration. So I strongly encourage you all, no matter where you come from in the kind of immigrant story, the race story, the identity story, we all belong with Harris. We are being divided by Trump. We've got to get behind her. We've got to make her our next president. And I'm very, very excited to be here today. Thank you.
Beautifully, beautifully put. Thank you so much. Look at all the great comments coming in. Amol Sarva, venture capitalist, startup king, is here and saying, go Kamala on LinkedIn. We're on all these platforms. Please sign up for updates at the bit.ly link. Please donate. We need your support. Please tweet Sam for Harris, South Asian Men for Harris. And we definitely want you all involved. And I love to hear someone speak about being mixed. So little representation for us. Thank you. Raul, you are speaking to that one person, but also to thousands and thousands of other people. So thank you for that. Mohan says, we have all multiple identities and thrive in them. My children are American. They're Indian. They're human. They're brown. They're millennials. Beautifully put, Mohan. I wish every Uncle G could see these notes from these the fellow uncles. We are now, we're late, but we're still going to finish strong. We have Salil Tripathi going to round out this panel, and then we have another all-star cast to finish the broadcast. So Salil Tripathi, writer, human rights expert, someone who brings ethics and teaches ethics and human rights to the business community. Very unusual person and a dear, dear friend of mine. Salil, over to you.
Thank you so much. And it's awesome to be on a panel like this and to listen to all these wonderful voices. And so thank you for having me here. I grew up in Bombay and I learned about my American history in Bombay. And when I learned about that American history, Benjamin Franklin was a name that often came to us because one of the founding fathers of the Constitution. So I'm going to start with a story that I had heard at that time, that as he was leaving the Independence Hall on the final day after the convention was getting over in 1787, 237 years ago, a woman called Elizabeth Powell comes to him and asks him, well, doctor, what have we got here? A republic or a monarchy? And Benjamin Franklin said, a republic, madam, if you can keep it. Those were important years. I grew up in an India of the emergency, and that's when we realized how easy it is to think that we can take freedom for granted. And there's another great Benjamin Franklin quote, which is the epigraph of the novel Our Document, which goes like this, that if a society is willing to give a precious liberty for temporary safety, or in our context, temporary tax cuts, it deserves neither liberty nor that safety. And this election does go beyond ethnicity. I know we have spoken a little bit about, about her Black identity and an identity as a woman and an identity as an Indian. All of that is great. All of those things are facts. But she represents certain virtues and values which are pretty rare in politics. One is that she can laugh. She can laugh not only at what goes around her, but she can also promise what she might do as a prosecutor. And as a prosecutor, everyone wants to talk about Democrats as being weak on law and order, but she knows how to uphold the rule of law. This is not the time to discuss if she came from a privileged background in southern India, as some people have started to do, or if she is Black or Black enough, or is she Indian or Indian enough. Those are irrelevant issues. This is the time to preserve, protect, and defend that very constitution that Benjamin Franklin and others were writing out. All white men, mind you, of course. But then still they created a document which, if read in the right spirit, could mean and can give and has given direction to what this country is meant to be all about. And that is what the US wants to believe itself to be. No country meets its own ideals, but it wants to believe that it is open to all, that there is this statue, which I can see from the terrace of my apartment complex, which says that, give me your tired, the people who are fleeing, those who are ambitious and those who are persecuted. And those are the kind of doors that might get shut. And we might even get a presidency that's not just 4 years, but many, many more years. And it would no longer be a presidency. So we are in a situation where the commentators are worried and warning that the way forward would be a kind of a dictatorship. having been a reporter in many parts of the world and having seen dictators, it's not a happy thing at all. I mean, it again goes back to think that if you give up precious liberty for safety, you deserve neither. It leads to the divine right of kings, and it's being consecrated now. It happens when there is this court which is being packed. It allows you to go after opponents. It allows you to jail rivals. It allows you to expel people you disagree with. It allows you to make people into unpersons. It allows you to ridicule the disabled, insult the refugees, attack women, attack minorities and LGBT people, and make it harder and harder for others to vote. These are the warnings that we all know, and this is what we know from dictatorships around the world. When the other guy, as President Biden refers to his predecessor, uses the kind of tactics to strike deals that only shady real estate mobsters might deploy, and believes, like Louis of France, après moi la deluge, let there be a deluge of support for liberty on our side, for choices, for rights, and for fairness. Hillary Clinton had warned about the packing of the courts. People thought, nah, it can't happen in America, but it happened. Democrats warned that Roe v. Wade might disappear, and the Roberts Court, or can we call it Alito Court or Thomas Court, did deliver that. Rights are at stake, immigration processes are in a mess, and if Kamala Harris is criticized because she is not an effective border czar, well, let me say one thing. She was never going to be able to do what she wanted to do because the Congress wouldn't have allowed it. It is turning back from what America was meant to be into something that 50, 60, 70 years ago was the case. There used to be long queues, and there still are long queues in front of US embassies around the world because people want to come. And that will change. The language that they use, calling women with pejorative terms, women who don't have children, and then starting to ridicule them, ridiculing the way she laughs, it is only going to get worse. The misogyny will be out in full front. And she will be called a DEI candidate. She's already called a DEI candidate. But you know what? I studied economics at Dartmouth College. And one of the things I learned there was that Gary Becker, the Chicago economist, had said, the Nobel laureate, that one reason apartheid failed was because it did not make effective use of all able people in the country. And that does mean going out and making an extra effort to seek out people who might be gems, but who have never had the opportunity to do so. It is also important at this stage, in a way, that if the other guy loses, it might be good even for the Republicans, because they need to win back their party. That was the party of Howard Baker, of Lowell Weicker, of the senior Bush, and of Abraham Lincoln. That party is being stolen away, and it is being turned into something that it was never meant to be. And that the Republicans have to fix it for themselves. And a smashing defeat would probably hasten that process. Many countries have had women leaders. I mean, South Asia, where all of us are from, have had many, many, many women leaders. So has Southeast Asia, Philippines, Indonesia, and so on. United Kingdom has had 3 women prime ministers. It's time the US gets in that direction. 100 days, and yes, the polls are looking good. It all looks very good now, which is fine. But always remember what Harold Wilson, the British Prime Minister, said. A week is a long time in politics. And therefore, let's not get disheartened. 1 foot at a time, 1 inch at a time, let's keep moving. It will be slushy, it will be muddy, but remember, Kamala means lotus, and lotuses grow in the slush. Thank you.
Beautifully said. And Fahim says DEI equals definitely earned it. I love that. So many great comments coming in. We just don't have time. Polls don't vote, people do, says Deepan, who, by the way, just donated. Thank you, Deepan, for donating, raising thousands of dollars. Brilliantly put, says the critic. Thank you for being here. Lotus to POTUS. We've heard that already many, many times. Dr. Abhay Dandekar is the one who created that wonderful logo that we've been using, including here. He made this. Dr. Abhay did, and he's writing about how he came up with this. In Sanskrit, Kamala means lotus. In the United States, it means POTUS. And we are just really happy to have all of you here. We do have to move on.
I'm just going to say one comment real quick about this. Just one last line. I hope that all the listeners today see the diversity of views on this panel alone. That is what's happening with this party. There is a space for so many views and people within the South Asian diaspora and around the country. So let's just remember that there's only one party that actually allows for space to have debate and smart conversation. This is not happening on the other side. So politics is a game of addition, not subtraction. So I just wanted to recognize that, listen to everyone on this particular panel. So
sure. Two more things I want to do. I want to have Wajahat give us his final thoughts, and Anurima, how can we move forward? What can we do next? We have Neva Deven coming up of South Asians for Biden and now South Asians for Harris. So we'll hear from her too. But let's go to Wajahat. Over to you.
Final thoughts very quickly. First of all, it's a pleasure to see this, and exactly what Rajan was saying. There's no hero coming. It's going to take a multicultural coalition of the willing, the Desi Avengers, or the Justice League, if you read DC Comics. It's going to take all of us. It's going to be a tough race, a close race, and don't underestimate your power. Don't underestimate your voice. And the final thing I'll say is, I had a conversation with someone who was on the fence, a family member. They didn't know all the facts. They didn't know that Trump said he'd be a dictator for a day. They didn't know about Project 2025. They didn't know about the attacks on Social Security. They didn't know about the plans to attack women's rights. They didn't know about the racism. And he sat there and he listened to me. And after 8 minutes, for the first time in 10 years, he said, okay, you have a voice. Do not underestimate your voice. Women have been leading. Follow their lead. But it's time for Desi men to step up. And us old uncles, we still have some ghee and fire in our belly. And we can do a lot of good. So I'm here for the Desi uncles, and I'm here to rally for the Desi uncles. And I have faith in us. And it's good. And it's okay to feel hope. It's okay to feel joy. Sustain that. Use that. Mobilize that until November. Let's go.
Well done. Let's go. Anurima, get us home.
All right, join to the polls. Let's go. And I will say, let's take the DEI, the cat ladies, everybody. This is all of it. Let's get to the polls. And this is a link to an action guide. It has all of the ways that you can get involved. This is about getting involved. And I'm going to call out and call in and call everything to the men on this call, which is please get involved. Donating is so incredibly important. Grateful. This is also a moment for you to show your sons, your uncles, everybody else that it is a time to get out there and knock doors, get on the ground, talk to people. It's so important that you actually take action and get involved. And I'm so glad that we're gonna kick it to Neva Deven and my crew at South Asians for Harris and Impact and everybody else who's been out here. Let's do this. But this is about what we're gonna do for the next 100 days to make sure we bring this home and we chart a very, very different history and make sure we have a chance to vote the next time around, because Project 2025 tells us that we may not have that chance if we don't actually do it right now.
Wow. Wow. Thank you. We have that guide here. We're going to tweet it out. Everybody, please share it. There's so much to be done. What a panel. Salil Tripathi, Anurima Bhargava, Wajahat Ali, Rajan Shah, Rahul Bhavnani. Just this panel would have been an entire show, but we're just getting started. As we go to the end, another great panel coming up. Thank you all. We'll see you soon. Thank you. And please stay in touch. And let's go, everyone. Please vote. Please support. Please tell your friends. And I will tell Raj and others who've been telling their friends that it's not enough. What Wajahat said, he got one person to agree, but you've got to keep reminding them. This is not enough. We need the 100 days, and we need everybody to show up at the elections. And many of you know that I work on trying to understand and explain AI, Manu. One of the big problems is going to be disinformation, misinformation. You're going to get audio phone calls from Kamala Harris's voice, with Kamala Harris's voice saying, stay home, we already won the race that day. And that's so dangerous all over. So please, please be careful. Let's go to our next group, final group. And then we're going to be done in about 20 minutes. I'm so honored to bring to you this amazing group of folks who are with us. There's Nick Rathod. I see Samir Patel. I see Neha Dewan, Ruhi Rustam. Thank you all for being here. Manu, what a group. I'm going to tell you a little bit about each person, and then they're going to share their thoughts with us. And we have a video that we will show you from the mayor of Cincinnati, half Indian, half Tibetan. Aftab Purival is going to play this video for you. We're going to play that video for you in just a moment. But first, let's tell everybody who's here, starting with Nick Rathod, who is an OG in the political world. I know Manu was so excited when you volunteered. You wrote to us saying you want to be involved. So Nick, start us off. Tell us what this moment means. You've seen it all.
Yeah, thank you, Sree. It's great to see you, and thank you all for the opportunity to organize us in this way. And yeah, I kind of do want to talk about the context here. It's been so fun watching some friends and others as they talk, because we've all been kind of in the trenches together over the years. And you know, I recall when I started getting into organizing, it was back in around 9/11, and at that time, our community wasn't as organized as we are now, you know, and we were kind of struggling. You know, there were all of these things happening. There was the government imposing certain policies on, especially our Muslim brothers and sisters, and at the same time, our Sikh and Hindu and Muslim and others were also being attacked. And we started organizing then. And, you know, since that time, we've been laying these bricks, piece by piece, laying the foundation. And, you know, we built groups like SALT, like Sikh Coalition, Sri Saja. All of these things started happening. And our people started also began running for political office. And, you know, these were more bricks that we built and built. And in politics, you know, when Kerry was running, there was a group formed called South Asians for Kerry. Then we did South Asians for Obama. And then out of that grew groups like Impact and AAPI Victory Fund and They See Blue and so many other hundreds and hundreds of grassroots organizations. And I know each of you watching in your own lives, you know, in business, in entertainment, in nonprofit, in philanthropy, all of you came and in your own ways have been lifting people up behind you, building, getting to the upper levels of management and running businesses and growing that. And now, you know, we find ourselves in this incredible moment. And we've laid these bricks and we've laid this foundation and we brought people along with us. And now while we're here, we have the opportunity to lift up onto that foundation our sister, Vice President Harris. And I'm so excited to be able to do that. And, you know, not only to be able to do that, because that in and of itself is very powerful, but I also want to say, because I recalled kind of where we were in 9/11, that we are now in a position of power in our community to be able to ask for things too. And especially if we have one of us at the top and ask for things that we care about in immigration, on, as Aasif was talking about earlier, you know, those of us who care about the genocide in Gaza and what's happening there, we can hold our leaders accountable. And that's also a position of power that our community is now poised to have and take. And I'm so excited about this opportunity, so excited to be here, and thank you for the opportunity to speak.
Thank you. Thank you. So well said. We have so many great folks watching and so many folks who are going to be speaking with us here. I see Mahen Gunaratna has joined us, and we'll introduce him also in a moment. But I want to go to Ruhi Rustam, who is here. Ruhi heard about this only last night, and she's here on a Saturday morning. Ruhi is National Organizing Director for the Harris campaign, not just South Asians for Harris, the Harris campaign. And we are so grateful to her for being with us. Thank you.
Sree, what a joy. I'm so happy to be with this group, especially on a Saturday. There's no one more. I would love to be with them, this crew of people. I'm really excited. This week has been hot on the campaign, as folks can imagine. We have had an absolutely incredible week for a variety of reasons, but one of the biggest is that this has candidly been the perfect first week for Vice President's campaign. She, in the first 24 hours of her campaign, as some folks have seen, raised the most ever for a presidential candidate, over 81 million. More than 60% of those were from first-time contributors for this cycle, and hundreds of thousands of grassroots supporters joined Zoom calls. We had Zoom crash, as some folks might have seen on Twitter, for some of these calls, because so many people are joining to talk about the VP and how she is ready, and this is the moment to have Vice President Harris lead the way and fight for our freedom. So I'm incredibly excited to let y'all know a few ways you can get involved. This is an unprecedented kind of new media environment. So I grew up in organizing for a while through many different kinds of cycles, kinds of campaigns, but in the last 4 years, like a lot of you folks might be on WhatsApp channels. I certainly am, where there are a lot of news pieces and things that are being shared that are just not real. It is harder and harder to get through to folks because some folks watch the news, some folks listen to the radio, but many others are on their phone, on Instagram, on Facebook, on Twitter, on Wicker, on many different ways where they're getting bombarded by information. And so more and more what we are realizing is that talking to voters is the name of the game this year. Talking to voters as much as possible through phone calls, obviously on the doors, in person, in farmers markets, but also candidly, voters who might not know who I am, might not know who our incredible organizer in Reno is, who's given them a call, but might know you because you are their cousin, might know you because you happen to be at a family party many years ago. They might know you because you are a friend of a friend, or you are someone's uncle. Like, they will listen to you and you will be able to cut through the text messages they may not respond to, my phone call, or any of our incredible volunteer phone calls that we love to have conversations with voters. But if you ignore a stranger's phone call, you will not be able to ignore your uncle's phone call or your cousin's phone call. And so your voice and your ability to talk to voters you know is even more valuable any moment, but in this moment more than ever, because guess what? While we've been talking to voters this week, we've been talking to voters all across battlegrounds, all across our path to 270 this week. It has been an unprecedented week for not just volunteer enthusiasm, but also voters are tuning in to the fact that the general election is happening, and it is right after the RNC convention. So we have been talking a lot, candidly, to folks about what is at stake. Project 2025 is still something that most voters have not heard about. Project 2025, candidly, when voters hear about it, they're not excited about it. It is deeply unpopular. It is deeply threatening. It holds folks back and candidly threatens to take us back to a time where we did not have freedoms, where many different of our rights are rolled back, where the policies that Project 2025 purports to support would actively limit not just South Asian rights, but candidly all Americans, and specifically women's rights so hugely. And so the more voters hear about what's at stake and the urgency of what Republicans would do with Project 2025, the more now we have what I've been calling big H hope. Like huge hope, like big, heartful, like heart bursting out of your seams, Joy Harris hope, to counter that and say, not just is Project 2025 really real, very scary. There are hundreds of pages that Republicans have written around what will happen in 2025 were Trump to take office, but you now have this massive swell of hope and how the VP will fight not just for our rights, not just for her rights, but for every single American's rights to take us forward. And so I have two asks for you. If you are around today or tomorrow, we are 100 days out from Election Day. Tomorrow, we are 100 days out. We're having our biggest weekend of action yet. And so if you go to KamalaHarris.com/100days, again, that's KamalaHarris.com/100days, you can literally pick up the phone and talk to battleground voters tomorrow, or 30 minutes from now, or an hour from now, or tonight while you're sitting on your couch and wondering, what can I do to get the VP elected? You can join many of our virtual options with conversations, because it's sometimes harder to talk to your uncle than it is to talk to a stranger in Wisconsin you might not know, but we know that both of those conversations are incredibly important. And so if you want to get involved tonight and tomorrow, come on to KamalaHarris.com/100days. This is uniquely moving for me because I'm Bengali. Bengali is my first language. And I know when I was 6 years old, my grandfather took me aside and was like, what are you going to do with your one big life? And I think that I had been listening to my parents for a while. So naturally, I said I was going to be a doctor. And so he looked at me and was like, no, you could be the bloody president of the United States. And I remember even as a 6-year-old, that felt so far away. I was looking at who was president. I was like, this is not really something that looks like me, versus now when I talk to my nieces and nephews, they point to the VP and they're like, this is what my future could be like. I should be in the White House. I could run for president. I can fight for American freedoms. And it is just so moving to be in community with all of the Black and brown girls. Honestly, if you watch any rally footage with the VP, it is one of the most, again, big H hope moving moments that I would have or recommend folks have. So again, if you want to take action today, tomorrow, KamalaHarris.com/100 days. If you want to take action broadly, I believe there's a QR code that is being posted on the screen. And if you can't take action, you're like, I'm actually working 100 hours a week right now, donating is really important. And so taking action with your dollars, also critical. And so I'm incredibly excited to pass it back to you, Sree, but what an honor to have this group together, and so grateful for everything that you have done and everything that you will do for the VP.
Thank you. Anurima says, Nick, Ruhi, all the Black and brown girls and boys, let's go. Ruhi, thank you so much. You are amazing. Ian says Ruhi is an amazingly inspiring speaker. You can imagine how busy she is. So for her to be here, even for a few minutes, by the way, representing with her Springsteen t-shirt, I wonder what the other boss thinks of this boss. Which boss's t-shirt do you decide to wear? And thank you, Ruhi. One quick question for you in case I lose you because you have to go. How do we not be complacent? You know, the excitement's there now. 100 days actually too far away. Election's not tomorrow, right? The poll is always about the polling question if the election were held today, but it's not. So please tell us how we don't make the mistakes that we've seen us make in the past, where people lost their energy. 2 weeks ago, you all remember that when former President Trump was shot, that weekend, we thought he was going to win in a landslide. That was the popular perception. Now we don't even remember, most of us, what happened that day. So can you talk to us, Ruhi, about where we go and what we can do specifically?
Yeah, I think there are two things that come to mind for me. One is that, like, when I hear some of this from, especially, like, again, cousins, family, friends, especially, who are like, "Oh, the election's settled and you're all ready to go." What I go back to is how a lot of our battleground states were won by mere thousands of votes. If you divide that through by the number of precincts that are in each state, in many cases, that means that there are some precincts that literally in 2020, the difference between Joe Biden and Donald Trump was anywhere from 20 to like 60 votes. And that is the moment that, like, I take folks to frequently, or I'm like, I can talk to 60 people in 48 hours. Like, if there is 60 people who are going to be deciding this election, that is how close this has been. These states are going to be, they have been historically so close. And so whenever I get that real reality of, like, the fact that this is going to fundamentally just be a close election in our critical states is top of mind. The second thing I go to is that truly, there is so much on the line when you read through and dig in again on some of the Project 2025 stuff. I like, really, when I was pulling bullets for this, I'm like, I don't want to horrify folks on a Saturday morning, but really, I would urge folks to take a quick peek, because it's really easy to feel like this election has been decided until you take one more swing around all of the different pieces in which, like, our economy would be rolled back, in which Medicare and Medicaid would have severe cuts, in which seniors and so many folks would just not have access to so many rights that we have protected for many years. That really grounds me in really knowing that there is a 500+ page plan for what happens if we take our eye off the ball. And so that's the second thing I'd go to. And then the third, candidly, is, like, really rolling my sleeves up and talking to some voters. There is nothing that, like, is more moving or really makes my heart swell up more when folks kind of are feeling this way. We're like, just hop on the phones with me for like an hour, or hop on the phones with me tonight, and we can see kind of how folks are feeling, because there are so many folks who are still not tuned in to the fact that this election is in soon to be less than 100 days. And so how critical those stakes are has just never been more important. And so digging deeper and deeper into the work is honestly, Sree, what really grounds me, and is what I would offer, because the VP's vision of how we just won't go back and need to fight for our freedoms is truly grounding and resonates with so many voters that those conversations cut through the tone or the vibe that you just raised often for me.
Thank you. Dr. Gowda says, as a South Asian woman, Army vet with a daughter. Wow, thank you for your service, Doc. I literally had tears upon hearing about this decision and to support Kamala Devi Harris. And now I'm so excited. We saw what happened with complacency in 2016. We got this. Let's go. Let's get this done. Ruhi, if you have to jump at any point, please do. Let's go to our other speakers who are here. Samir Patil is here. Samir, thank you so much for being here. Samir runs Scroll Global and founded Scroll.in, which you all know is a very important and one of the leading publications in India, progressive independent publication. And Samir, you're here to give us a more global perspective on all of this.
Yeah, so a couple of things. This is new for me in many ways. The energy that, as somebody from the media industry like Sree, we are all hard-boiled to think there is no optimism. We're always thinking about all the different ways in which things can go wrong. So one of the main reasons I immediately said yes as soon as Manu wrote to me was that what has happened in the last 6-7 days, factually, whether it's in India, whether it's around the world and in the US, is just amazing that we have a candidate who is biracial, has the support of 27 of the Democratic governors, has support of the entire House of Reps, that Democratic, and some Republicans. This is quite incredible. I don't think even the campaign reading the news had actually thought that that would happen. So that's number one. Number two, in both democracies, I grew up in India and I grew, I have spent last 15-20 years here. What is at stake is not, one candidate or the other. It is the rule of law. It is just simply constitutional government. So there are many people like me probably who otherwise do not participate in the political process in this kind of a way. But I think that this is not the time for that. There is such a significant threat to the rule of law. I think before this, Salil Tripathi pointed out, this is not just about one party. This is about actually having a viable party system. One party has been completely taken over. The other thing I would report from the international side of things is, I think Lotus for POTUS is great, but there is a Hindi version of it called Kamla Ka Hamla, which I prefer much more. For those who don't speak Hindi, Hamla means attack, but in a nice way. So that's another thing that I can report from the rest of the world. One final thing I would say is, again, as a media person, the coverage of the election is abysmal in the mainstream press. Yesterday in a speech, Donald Trump said that, if you vote for me, this is going to be the last election. And this is not the headline news right now on the mainstream newspapers. So what Rui said resonates a lot with me, that, this is about being able to talk to everybody on facts. And we assume the facts are known to people, but a fact this big, it has been like 7 or 8 hours since the speech was made, that it is not the main news and there's some wishy-washy nonsense going on in the mainstream media. It is a real threat. And then the final thing I would say is that, yes, while I'm very enthusiastic, also I'm very worried that, the 6 or 7 states that matter, last time the total votes, there were 40,000 votes. Literally it was, the rivets of the system were held together by 40,000 votes. And so it really matters what we do now. So with that, I'll sort of stop.
Thank you, Samir. Since you're a cricket fan, Mohan says this will go down to the last ball as it does in T20 cricket. So
yeah, absolutely. This is last ball, last player.
And we're saving our last ball and last player for Neha Dewan, who is going to help us wrap this up. But before that, we want to bring in now Mahin Gunaratna. One of the things I want to point out, there are a lot of South Asian organizations that say South Asian this and that, but aren't really South Asian in the sense that truly beyond just one or two communities. We had Ruhi, who is Bangladeshi. We had Pakistanis, and Mahin is to represent here the great country of Sri Lanka. He's a Sri Lankan American who works as comms director at Governor Murphy's office in New Jersey. And he has been a pioneer, not just in the Sri Lankan community, but South Asian community, working in politics and political circles. A time when we heard multiple people say, Mahin, that they were lucky to get an internship. You've got a job a lot of people would aspire to. So over to you, Mahin.
Thanks so much, Sree. Thanks so much, Manu. Thanks so much, Neil, for putting this together. This is such an important space for all of us. and for you to all put this together within 72, 75 hours is nothing short of amazing. So let me start by thanking you and on behalf of everyone else here. Also really honored to be with Nick, who's one of the best operatives in the business, Nihal, who I've worked with for a long time, Ruhi, who left, who's one of the best organizers in the business. We have a truly all-star cast assembled here today. My name is Mahin Gunaratne. As Sree said, I'm a proud Sri Lankan American. I grew up in New York, but now I live in New Jersey with my wife and 2 kids. My son is nearly 3 years old. My daughter is over there rolling down on the floor. She turned 6 months yesterday. So we are, and as Sree said, I work in politics. I serve as communications director to Governor Murphy of New Jersey. I've been a long-time advisor to him. Although I'm here in my political capacity, I've also worked many campaigns, including 3 presidential races. But this is familiar terrain to me, but I've never seen grassroots energy like we've experienced over the past 6 days with Harris for President campaign. Not since at least the Obama 08 campaign have I seen energy like this. So we're at a really unique moment. And I'd also be remiss to not acknowledge the work that's been done, the groundwork that's been laid by the Black Women for Harris Coalition, South Asian Women for Harris Coalition, that created the space for us to have this gathering today virtually. You know, when I think about why should we support Kamala Harris, the answers are pretty simple in my mind. But, you know, broadly speaking, this is the biggest moment for the South Asian American community, at least in my lifetime and in our lifetimes, I believe. We have the opportunity to elect one of our own to the presidency. She's an incredibly qualified and dedicated public servant. Not only will she be the first Black woman president, graduate of an HBCU, proud soror of Alpha Kappa Alpha sorority, but also our first South Asian woman president. She's on the right side of issues of so many issues that we care about as Democrats, whether it's paid family leave, universal pre-K, reproductive freedom. And she's also able to go toe-to-toe on the world stage as our commander-in-chief. I think she's visited 22 countries as vice president, and I'm sure that'll only grow as when she wins the presidency. But I really want to shift away from her professional qualifications. She has obviously served as district attorney and attorney general of California and senator and vice president, now soon to be president. But I just want to take it back, and some of the speakers alluded to this at the beginning, just what her personal value set is and her upbringing by her mother. She talks very often about walking down the beach in Chennai with her grandfather, who himself was a committed public servant in the Indian government civil service. She talked about how during her first attorney general race, which she won by only 1%, she asked for her auntie in India to break coconuts for her, and she won that by a very small margin. But certainly that good luck came into play. What was most impactful for me was she flew back to India to scatter the ashes of her mother on the beach following her passing in 2009, which was a very tough time for her. These are just some of the stories that I think about when I think about, Kamala Auntie, or when I think about in Sri Lanka, we say Aki if it's older sister, so Kamala Aki. This is someone who understands our community, who is steeped in our community, who will be a proud Black woman, South Asian woman president, and I couldn't be more excited to do this work over the next 100+ days. I think as we think about what we can be doing over the next 100+ days, I think of the 3 Ds. One is donate. I think Neil created the short link, so we have bit.ly/SAM for Harris. I encourage everyone to donate. Certainly my wife and I will be donating later today ourselves. I think of the second D, dials. Ruhi talked about this a little bit, but getting on the phones, getting on texting your friends and family members, doing a text, particularly getting on WhatsApp, and combating some of the misinformation that we see. And the last D is doors. I think we need to hit the doors, particularly in the swing states, reach out to fellow South Asian Americans in our temples, in our mosques, in our churches. Let's not just reach out to those who have similar backgrounds for us. Let's reach out to those wherever we see them, whether it's in the grocery store, at the pharmacy, in a place of worship, etc. We need to truly make this intergenerational and a socioeconomically diverse movement. We have a little over 100 days left. Again, I want to take this back to thank Sree, thank Manu, thank Neil for making this a truly diverse and representative group of South Asian Men for Harris. We've obviously have strong showing from the Indian American community, the Pakistani American community, Bangladeshi American community. Bhutanese community. I know there's Indo-American, Indo-Caribbean representation from Trinidad and Jamaica and Guyana. We have folks from the Maldives, Nepal, Afghan representation, and certainly folks like myself who are Sri Lankan American. I'm really looking forward to doing this work hand in hand with all of you over the next 3 months. Thank you so much, and look forward to working together.
Amazing. Thank you. Ian says, I had no idea of the depth of South Asian political organizing in the US. The stream has been so encouraging and eye-opening. It really has been for me. I have learned so much what we could do in 75 hours. From an idea from Manu, he wrote a text to this that tells you what can we do in 100 days, all of us together. And we're just the newbies. We're just, we're learning at the feet of Neha and Nick and Mahen and so many others who've been with us already. And by the way, Manu, so many people wanted to join us who couldn't, just because they happen to be traveling or whatever, they couldn't be here. So we promise we will do this again. Before we go to Neha, we promised everyone that we will introduce them to the mayor of Cincinnati. Aftab Purival is the son of a Tibetan refugee and an Indian immigrant. And he is now risen to be the mayor of Cincinnati. As a 9-year-old growing up in the US, I could never imagine saying words like that. And by the way, I used to love WKRP in Cincinnati, if that means anything to anyone here, that TV show and that opening jingle. Nick, I'm sure you wouldn't have imagined a day when there would be a mayor of Cincinnati. So he wasn't able to be here because he's eulogizing a beloved Black pastor in the community. So he sent us this video. Neil, let's get going.
Thanks, Sree. And I'll just jump in to check. It is a longer video, just the first minute.
Yeah, let's do the first minute or so, and then we'll pull it back. We'll play the whole thing at the end after we say goodbye to Neha and everyone. We'll play that in full.
That's great. Thank you. Just wanted to check.
What's up, guys? My name is Aftab Singh Purival, and I am the 70th mayor of the great city of Cincinnati, and I'm one of the few Indian American mayors in the country. Shout out to my boy, Ravi Bala. I am just so thrilled to be here as a Punjabi American, as an Indian American, as someone who is just so fired up and inspired and energized by our vice president, by the opportunity to make history, making Kamala Harris the first Indian American president in our country's history. Let's go, guys. I mean, can you imagine? This is crazy. This opportunity that we have to make history together for her, but most importantly for our community. And it's going to take everything we've got. This is a brand new campaign, 100 days out. We have 100 days to sprint to the finish line, to mobilize and to turn out votes. And I know we can do it because we have to do it. Because she's one of us. She belongs to us. This is.
Oh, wow.
That's just a brief, introduction, but oh my God, the energy that he brings to the table, just incredible. So we will, as Sree mentioned, we'll close by showing the full video, but we wanted to make sure that we finish out. Neha, thank you so much for joining us today. I want to make sure that we give proper support and all the credit to the work that you've done, that you did earlier in the week. The South Asian Women for Harris breaking Zoom is not easy to do, and we're just so thrilled to be following in the footsteps of, as we say, our Black and South Asian sisters. So please close us out. Thank you.
Yeah, no, thank you so much, Sree, Neil, and Manu for having us, and all of my brothers here on the screen. Really appreciate you uplifting women, in the community, and just providing this space. I just want to say, really quickly, my political journey actually started in 2008 when I started organizing for the first Black president. 2009, I was inspired by Reshma Sujani, who is my shiro inspiration for everything, when she was the first South Asian woman who was running for Congress. 2016, I actually co-founded South Asians for Hillary, and when I was organizing for the first female president. And I feel like I've kind of come full circle at this point, where we're now organizing for the first Black South Asian female president. So in 2020, I founded South Asians for Biden, which has now become South Asians for Harris, and I co-founded it with my sister, Harini Krishnan, who you heard from earlier. South Asians for Biden was the largest affinity group that worked with AAPIs for Biden. We reached out to 300,000 voters. We know that the president won by 313 voters in battleground states. We sent out thousands of postcards to thousands of phone banks and reached out to numerous voters and postcards. We had 100+ leadership team and thousands of volunteers and thousands of members. We had a rapid response team to combat misinformation. Our communications was bifurcated into press and social media. We had a political team. We were in 26 chapters. We had state directors. So when we pivoted in 2024 to resurrect that structure, we were there. We were already there. We were starting. We were mobilizing. We were already doing it. What we did find was that the youth wasn't as engaged. Some of the community wasn't as engaged. So last Sunday, when all of this came about, we quickly pivoted to South Asians for Harris, but had that structure already in place. We had the volunteers. We had the chapters and the state directors. So at this point, we are fired up and really ready to go. Just in 15 minutes, what you can do, you can start your mobilization journey. You can start text banking with us. We do that every Saturday. We have phone banks set into battleground states Monday, Tuesday, Wednesday, Thursday. We have organizing calls that are being done with teams across the country Saturday and Sunday. So there's a place for everybody in the South Asian space and just the space in general, right? Whether it's Black women for Harris and different communities. And what I love about just this week that we've seen South Asian men, South Asian women, we're building a coalition. Back in 2020, Raj Shah, who you heard from early on, electrified the community with the Bloc Party. Partnering with him, that's the power of the community, coalition building. And what's important is not just for people voting. Yes, of course, that's it. But relational organizing as well, which is something that we engaged in. It's not just going to strangers and knocking on the doors and calling strangers. As Ree put it, call those folks that you know and make sure that on election day, they are bringing 5 people to the polls. They are then bringing 5 people to the polls. We have voter guides that have been translated into 9 different languages. On our websites, we have a list of election dates that you make sure that you get your ballot in. It has to be postmarked or received or that kind of information. So we are continuing to build that movement. And, we certainly appreciate everybody on this call, all of the men, and also the men who uplift women in political groups. Of course, fundraising is very important. When I used to canvass in 2016 and back in 2008, we were put on buses from New York to New Hampshire and Pennsylvania. That matters too. We want to be able to fund these efforts. And, it's not just about the swing states. It's about states like New York, because I can call my auntie in Pennsylvania and tell her to organize or tell her to bring 5 voters to the polls. So it's really for our entire community. So let's get started. We have 10 minutes at this point. And, you can please go to Linktree/SA for Harris to find different ways in which you can get engaged. So thank you so much. Really appreciate all of you being in this space and just cannot thank the supporters. 75 hours really speaks to our community. 72 hours for South Asian Women for Harris is incredible. And let's just keep capitalizing on that, because I know that all of our groups have gotten hundreds and hundreds of volunteers. So let's bring them all together and do the work that's already been outlined. Really appreciate it.
Thank you. Look at Satish saying, kudos, great event. So many thanks for all you've done, Neha. Many of our members volunteer for South Asia for Harris. This is Indian Americans for Biden Harris. There's so many groups. Here's the Linktree again. Linktree, South Asia SA for Harris. Please check that out. And we have lots of questions and comments coming in. Anurima is pointing out 500+ signups for Wednesday for South Asian for Women for Harris. Let's match that. Everybody jump in. Let's make this happen. We are just so grateful to Neha and everyone who has been involved. We want to finish with some questions for all of you. And Manu will give you the first question to ask.
Well, first of all, thank you everybody for all of your insights. I think the first thing that comes to mind is a bit of concern. We've had a lot of excitement. We're doing a lot of stuff, and there's an incredible amount of energy and mobilization. But the other side is mobilizing also. And one of the things that some of the people behind Project 2025 said, which is particularly scary, is that they are winning. This is a paraphrased semi-quote from them. They are winning because they are not even going to tell us some of the things that they are doing on the ground in some states. It's a very mysterious, cryptic kind of thing, and maybe it's just meant to scare us. But just in case, what are some of the things we can be on the lookout for? What are some of the things that we should be doing to make sure that everyone's vote is protected, everyone's vote is counted, and that there shouldn't be shenanigans? This is an open question, but let's maybe start. Let me toss this to Nick and Neha.
Sounds good. Thank you. Great question. And it is concerning. I mean, they are very good at organizing, just generally, and they have these institutions that they organize through, whether it's churches, gun clubs, those sorts of things. And that's how they organize themselves. And they're very aligned in how they do that, and they can activate themselves. Unlike us, they also fall in line very quickly, and they have these communication channels to be able to communicate and get people out to vote. So, don't underestimate their power to turn out voters. What I think the ascension of Kamala Harris into this role does, though, is it absolutely opens up communities that weren't available, I think, prior to her rise. And I want to pick up on what Neha said in terms of relational organizing, because for a community like ours that's hyper networked, that we're very connected in different ways, this is an important thing to be able to engage in. And it doesn't take a lot of effort. So, you can gather or just call 5 or 6 of your friends, people who may not traditionally vote, maybe sporadic in terms of how they vote, that sort of thing. Talk to them, encourage them to come out, even if it's only because they want to elect someone for, whatever small reason you might think. Whatever it is, get them out and then have them call 5 more people. We have so many connections in our communities. I'm on family WhatsApp chats that have like 1,000 people on them. So you can communicate with our communities in a different way and turn people out like that. And I think that especially is a very powerful mechanism to get our community out and open up the opportunity. One last thing I'll say that somebody else mentioned, that the margins are so tight, especially in the battleground states. So Michigan, Joe Biden won that by 150,000 votes. Imagine if we are able to communicate with our communities in Michigan, especially, which has high South Asian populations, and turn those people out either through the Gurdwaras, temples, mosques, places where we gather and connect with one another. There is massive opportunity to, as a voting bloc of South Asians, to swing elections in many of these states that people care about. And just by doing some of the things I mentioned. So I think we're in a very powerful position as a community. I think that we have the opportunity to maybe blunt some of the concerns that you have.
Thank you for that comment. And I know Manu will also jump in with some comments, but want to point out just behind, I'm going to bring Nick back on stage here. Just behind him, you can see all the artifacts of a career in this business, including running Beto O'Rourke's campaign for governor of Texas. And I see Michelle, I see Barack, I see Joe, I see all kinds of great his history, and a South Asian to have lived that history, to have been directly working with these folks, tells you where we are as a community. So we're proud of you, Nick, but we're more proud of our community that we are in a position to be like this. So congrats to what you've done, and let's go. So let's go to Mahan, Samir, and then we'll end with Neha. Our goal is to finish in 5 minutes so we can play that final video of the mayor of Cincinnati and wrap up. So Mahan, over to you.
I want to echo what Nick said. There's a lot of concern about underhanded tactics, organizing on the other side, voter suppression for that matter. I would just make 2 quick points. One is that the Harris campaign has and is developing a very robust voter protection effort. and we need to plug into that. So, for example, if you're a lawyer on this call, you can, and for example, and you're a little hesitant or a little nervous to knock on doors or to text folks, but you're willing to lend your expertise on the voter protection front, there are opportunities for you to serve in a voter protection role on election day or during the early vote period. And that leads to my second point, which is we shouldn't think of election day being a singular day in November. It's very important that our community take advantage of the continuum of time that we have to cast our votes. And that means taking advantage of vote by mail. That means taking advantage of in-person early voting, depending on what state you live in. Democrats need to build up a wall of votes that we've banked heading into Election Day. Republicans usually outperform us on Election Day proper. If we look at it through the lens of a single day, we will lose, and Kamala Harris will not be the next president of the United States. If we look at it that everyone needs to bank their votes early through vote by mail or through in-person early voting, narrow the universe of folks who are left, then that's how she can get victory in the battleground states.
Very well said, Mahan. And I know you have all those artifacts and memorabilia too. You just happen to be in front of not a full wall today, but next time we wanted you to give us a tour of all the things that you've done. And thanks for your work with Governor Murphy, a great Democrat running the great state of New Jersey. And good luck with whatever happens next with you and the team. All right. Thank you, Mahan Gunaratna. Let's now go to Samir Patil. Samir, final thoughts for today.
No, I have actually a suggestion / question for Nihal, in fact, anybody on the panel. So one of the big things, like all of us said, this is going to be very close, last ball, last person. And it would be good to know in the battleground states, what are some of the highest priorities and how some volunteers can fill it, right? The gap, the dotted line between what the volunteers are doing and what really matters in the battleground state, that needs to be clearer for everybody. And that's it, right? That's, to me, I'm still sort of, wary of the fact that it was 40,000 votes.
Yeah, no, I mean, absolutely. That's a really good question. But, one of the things that we found in 2020 was really keeping a good, close, eye onto the ground. We actually had, Indians for Biden, Pakistanis for Biden, Bangladeshis for Biden, to be able to have a pulse on the ground for people who didn't necessarily identify as South Asian. So this was a really good way for issues to bubble up to us and for us to be able to figure out, okay, what is the messaging? Go back to the campaign and say, okay, well, this is what we're also hearing. How do we counter some of that information? And we want to be able to build upon that now. And it's not just calling somebody and saying, hi, this is so-and-so. It's calling them in that language and really being able to connect with them. And so when we speak to voters now, we will hear about the things that impact them 4 years later. Their concerns may be different. And this is where we come in now. We have 100 days left. We have, we have time to get moving. But it's really by going from brick to brick, from person to person, to be really getting that information about what is it that they want to hear, what is it that they want to have happen, and how is it that we can provide that. One of the big things that we're also doing is combating this Project 2025. We're highlighting different aspects of it that impacts different parts of our community. So uncles and aunties, who've been naturalized and don't really care about immigration that much. Well, guess what? There's a naturalization a piece of it that could come into effect, a birthright citizenship piece of that could come into effect. So there's a lot of different messages that we could bring out to undecided voters who don't even know about the different facets of Project 2025. And this is the power of groups such as us to have that ear to the ground and understand, okay, what do they want? And how do we show that this is the administration that's going to work for you and not the Trump administration, who we've already seen what they've done in the 4 years for our community.
Thank you. We are almost done. Ranurima says, Nick is history. Nick, you're still a young man. Lots still to do. Rudhir says, let's go, Sree. That's right. Let's go, everybody. Yo, Nick, proud of you, brother, says Rudhir. So great to have these thoughts. The mayor of Cincinnati just texted us thinking it was already finished, and we said we're still about to wrap up. So he understands. He's half Tibetan. He knows what's going down here. We started as a 2-hour show, it's 3 hours, so lots of lessons on how to keep it tighter. But it's so many people wanted to come out, Manu, and I want to salute you, Manu, for your leadership. Not just with this, you had a panel that you put together of Ali Velshi and Suketu Mehta, Mitra Kalita, talking about these issues. The more we gather, the more we convene, the more we talk, the more we're going to learn. So a final thought from you, Manu.
I think one of the things we're all feeling, and I'm sure you've gotten emotional about it a couple of times, is this sense, that of representation, that we feel ourselves being seen. And to me, I think it's a great feeling, but there are so many people in the United States who still don't feel seen or heard. I think what our mission is to make sure that we're on their side, and that we do our part to lift up their voices and get it to the administration. And I think that the administration that we want, that is going to be most receptive to those voices, is that of Kamala Harris in November. So I think that's my takeaway from all of this. It's hopeful, it's energized, it's community oriented. It has been an enlightening 3 hours. There is an incredible network of people working here, and I think the point is that we want to plug into that and expand it as much as we can, and then to interweave that or overlay that with all these other networks that are there. That's how we're going to build a very strong fabric for our country.
We are close to, last time I checked, about $13,000 was raised by us in this time. As you know, we are nowhere close to the hundreds of thousands raised by other groups, including the women, but we are here to raise awareness, to learn, to share, to talk, and we will do this again, I'm sure, in the months ahead. We have 100 days to go, everybody. We're so grateful to everyone, Harini and Neha, everyone who participated. We had more than 30 speakers. I'm not going to name them again, but to wrap us up and take us out, I want to thank our wonderful team that put all this together. We will show you we've been showing you a run of show all day. So Nihal, if you wouldn't mind showing us the end of our run of show, has the list of people who helped with this, and even that's not complete. So Nihal's going to just pull up the run of show and just scroll to the bottom. And if you are watching, if you joined us late, you're watching late, no worries. This is going to run on Facebook, Twitter, YouTube, on all these channels. Please follow South Asian Men for Harris on YouTube and on Instagram, and please email us southasianmenforharris@gmail.com. We apologize for all the mistakes, errors, oversight, anything that we did wrong, but we were moving too fast, but we have to because it is an emergency. Our volunteer team, you see here, Manu, Neil, Deepika, Titus, Mateo Gomez, thank you very, very much. And thank yous to Gautam Raghavan, Harini Krishnan, Neha Dewan, Raj Goyal, Rajan Shah, Nurima Bhargava, Mitra Kalita, Purna Jagannathan, Dr. Abhay Dandekar, who made that famous picture of Lotus POTUS, and a certain Queen's Pals group that shall remain mysterious to all of you. And we're going to end now, I can't believe I'm saying it, with the mayor of Cincinnati, the proud Punjabi Tibetan mayor of Cincinnati. His name is Aftab Singh Purival, and he's going to close us out after this. We will see you online. Thank you very much, everybody. 3 amazing hours.
Thank you, Sree. Thank you, Sree. Thank you, Sree, for everything.
Manu, you didn't even
incredible organizer, beyond all imagination. Yes, 72 hours, 75 hours, whatever it was, went by in a blur because Sree doesn't sleep. He works 24 hours a day, night, day, doesn't matter. He's working connections, and putting this all together. And Neil, an incredible producer behind the team. This is a professional. I mean, this is all these other things. I mean, I don't know what our numbers are, but in terms of production values, this definitely below, is just amazing, beyond any of these other kinds of calls. I'll do props to them, but this whole streaming thing is quite extraordinary, and it's a really amazing event. So Neil and Sree, thank you to the two of you. What an outstanding accomplishment of being able to put this together so fast. Also, just one last thing from me, which is a professor like me, we take 3 hours just to sort of say hello, and so to do all this, talk this fast, get all these people moving, this is it was quite a scene for me, but a really great experience. I hope everyone else feels energized and mobilized too. Thank you.
Manu, thank you so much for the kind words. I appreciate it. I am going to be a producer until the end. A couple of quick announcements. Want to make sure people saw the links and the resources. We've been pushing the donate link throughout the show. bit.ly/Sam4Harris, lowercase SAM, number 4, lowercase Harris. Please make sure to donate. We've been dropping that into the YouTube, Facebook, and LinkedIn live streams. We want to make sure people sign up for updates. The form that people signed up to get the information about this show, we will keep that form going. If you continue to sign up, if you didn't happen to sign up earlier, you can go there, bit.ly/SAM number 4 H July, SAM 4H July. You see it running across the bottom of your screen. Sign up for updates. We'll keep you informed about future events and other activities that you can get involved in. We want you to follow us on Instagram and YouTube at South Asian Men for Harris, at South Asian Men for Harris. A particular shout out to the folks watching on Instagram. We know you were watching. We know you had great comments. Sorry we couldn't put it on screen, but great turnout on Instagram on my channel. So thank you very much. And then finally, Sree, I just want to do a personal thank you, as Manu did to you. All this work in bringing community together, in having these crazy ideas and saying, yeah, let's do this. All the work it takes to pull it together, all the speakers that we reached out to, and the diversity of speakers. Again, we should mention that several times. It wasn't just men. It wasn't just Indian men. Wasn't just South Asian men. We had women. We had Walter Grayson. We had the full South Asian contingent here. And I think that was really a testimony to all of the community building work that you've done over the years. So thank you, thank you, thank you.
Wow, thank you, Neil. And some of you know that I led a different, very small movement to end all male panels. And I'm very proud of that work, of what we were able to do with that. It's not over. All male panels exist. So you don't understand how painful it is for me to build 3 hours of mostly men, but this was for a specific reason, to reach the uncles, reach the aunties and others who are being swayed by misinformation, by disinformation. I will end on this note. You'll hear repeatedly, what did she do as vice president? What did she do as vice president? Tell me what Pence did as vice president, except almost get hanged by his own party and call his wife mother in front of everybody else, refer to her as mother all the time. What did, with all due respect, Vice President Joe Biden do as vice president? He did so much as president, but he did a lot, but we don't always see it. And we know what one vice president did in Dick Cheney and how much damage he did to the world, right? So that is the history of vice presidents. Don't let anybody tell you, what did she do? What did she do? There are so many accomplishments. We talked about it here, and you will keep hearing of the bad stuff, but remember the positive stuff that's happening and what's at stake. We don't have to love everything about every one of our candidates. We have to love this country and help it not circle the drain that we're seeing right now. And we are going to be better than that. And with that, let's bring on the mayor of Cincinnati, Aftab Singh Purival. And goodbye, everybody. Thank you so much. An incredible 3 hours. Let's go. Let's go. Manu, thank you.
Don't forget the email address, southasianmenforharris@gmail.com. We'll close out with the mayor from where we picked off, where we dropped off, and then we'll close the show after that. Thank you, everyone.
That Asian Americans, South Asians, when we come together and mobilize, there is nothing that can get in our way. And they're trying. They're trying to get in our way. They're using the same playbook that they've used time and time again against her, against us, against our community. They're using racism. They're calling her a DEI candidate. They're questioning her American citizenship. They're intentionally and repeatedly mispronouncing her name. I'm angry about it. I am, because this always happens. This always happens. From the very beginning of this country, it has been just fine to be racist against South Asians and Asians and Native Hawaiians and Pacific Islanders from the very beginning. The construction of the railroad, the Japanese internment camps, the Muslim ban, the rise in violent hate crimes against our community across the country, particularly South Asians. We've seen it time and time again. And when this happens, everybody just shrugs. Everybody out there just says, well, I guess that's the way it is. Well, not anymore. It stops right now. This time there will be consequences. And you and I represent those consequences. This time, when she will get attacked and continue to be attacked, we will have her back. We will not just shrug, we will say that is racist. And most importantly, we will raise even more money, knock even more doors, call even more numbers in order to make sure that we turn that frustration into action, into political action, to drive consequences, to make change, and to collectively make history. And it's not, look, I am as proud as anyone that she's one of us, that she belongs to us, but it's more than that. She's got an incredible history of public service. She has an incredible vision for moving our country forward, not by dividing, but by uniting. That's what we need desperately right now. She is the right person, the right leader in the right moment. And she's our responsibility to make sure that this campaign is successful and to make sure that we make history together. Because when they attack her, they're attacking us and they're attacking our kids. And if we want to create that different future, if we want to drive those consequences, then it's on us. So right now, right this minute, I'm sure there is a donation link in the chat. Donate right now. Sign up right now to volunteer. Reach out to the campaign right now and say, I'm gonna knock doors. I'm gonna make phone calls. I'm all in. It's 100 days, guys. We have 100 days, fellas, to show up and show out. And I know we can do it and we will do it, because in the great history of our community coming to this country, settling here, growing here, investing in the country, we are part of the very fabric of what makes this country special. There is nothing that can stop us. Good luck, guys. Have a great event.